I'm pleased to introduce the head coach from the University of Washington and incoming United Soccer Coaches President, Leslie Gallimore.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Philadelphia. It's my pleasure to welcome you here to the 6th NWSL Draft. And for those of you that have been around the women's collegiate game for a number of years, and those of you that have watched and followed our national team and the international game of women's football, you know that the 6th year of a professional league in the United States is a great, great milestone. So kudos to everyone that supported it, developed it, and made it get here today. For those of you that were in the draft room for the first NWSL draft, it was about as big as this table. There was people outside that wouldn't let you in to hear what was going on. Information just kept getting leaked outside, so it's great to see it grow to this point. I want to also recognize our current president, who I'm taking over for on Sunday, Charlie Slagle. Charlie, thank you for coming and supporting the draft. And I want to wish all the young women that are here in this room and that aren't in the room at the time that have registered for the draft, I want to wish you good luck, but more so, congratulate you for your journey to this point and wish you the best of luck moving forward. I can't wait to see how proud your families, your college coaches, your club coaches, the people that have invested in you are of you today, and you should be very, very proud of yourself. It's no small task getting to this point. So good luck to all of you. Good luck to all of the teams and the clubs. Welcome to the new coaches in the league, and let's get this thing rolling, yeah? Thanks, Amanda.
On behalf of all of our owners, our partners, our players, our great fans, welcome to the 2018 NWSL College Draft. I'd first like to thank Leslie Gallimore, Lynn Burling-Manuel, and the great team at United Soccer Coaches for their support of NWSL and for hosting the NWSL College Draft here at the United Soccer Coaches Convention in Philadelphia. Today is an exciting start to the league's historic season, a season we have extraordinary expectations for and have confidence will continue to set the global standard on and off the field. 2017 was a fantastic year for NWSL. The year started with important growth in the league's ownership when A&E Networks and Lifetime joined our team as a broadcast partner and sponsor and equity shareholder in NWSL. Together, we launched NWSL Media, the commercial arm of NWSL based in A&E's offices in New York, and for the first time offered a full slate of nationally televised broadcasts from the opening weekend through the championship, with an unprecedented level of promotional support from A&E well above and beyond their obligation. TV ratings were higher than we've ever had. More new, unique content was produced by our team in New York than the league's ever seen. And with more than 600,000 fans supporting our teams and players, the league saw its highest attendance in the league's history. North Carolina Courage entered the league in 2017 with an incredible inaugural season, winning the NWSL Supporter Shield and advancing to the NWSL Championship. Congratulations to Steve Malik, Kurt Johnson, Paul Riley, and the team on setting the standard and a tremendous launch. Congratulations to the Thorns, Merritt Paulson, Mike Golub, Gavin Wilkinson, Mark Parsons. Not only did you bring the championship trophy back to Portland, you continued to drive the culture in our market, in your market, and across the league with unique and unwavering fan support. It's an experience second to none. Congratulations to all the teams for a remarkable season. A job well done, but a job we want to do better in 2018. This offseason, we welcome the Utah Royals, a club that will undoubtedly elevate the standard of resources, facilities, and support, and have already put key pieces in place that will position this team to win from the outset. Welcome to your first NWSL College Draft. Our fan base continues to grow, and we thank you all for your incredible support of our players and our teams. The importance of your support goes beyond numbers and data and is a critical lifeline to the success in each and every one of our clubs. It's an inspiration to our players who work tirelessly and sacrifice to be a part of this and lay the foundation for this league, for the future professionals and for future opportunities for girls and women in sports. Your sacrifices as players are a motivation to so many, and we as a league are excited to strengthen our relationship with the very people that make NWSL the destination league for players around the world. Thank you to our federation partners, U.S. Soccer and Canada Soccer. Dan, Sunil, Lydia, and to many others at U.S. Soccer, your support and guidance is instrumental to the success and growth of this league. Thank you to our partners at Nike who continue to support NWSL and the teams both with performance and in the development of globally recognized and relevant brands. We also thank Thorne and Cutter for their continued commitment to NWSL. To the draft players with us today and watching at home, first, congratulations. We are thrilled to welcome you into a group of builders that have the opportunity to show uncompromised commitment to challenging yourselves and everyone around you to raise the bar. Regardless of today's outcome, congratulations on a career that is nothing short of a success so far and the journey that you have in your respective futures. With all of that, I thank you all for being with us today. I thank you for your support, and I think we're ready to get started. Washington, you are on the clock.
Be like a number 6.
I think you nailed it actually, but she is even more versatile where she can be an 8. So she can play any 3 of those spots if they wanted 10, 8, or 6, but I do think that ultimately the 6 is where she's going to thrive the most and will probably be her role for the national team. So I bet Jill Ellis wants to see her play in that 6 just to get her more experience in it there.
I like the idea of her being combined with Mallory Pugh for the Spirit as well. That's going to be an amazing combination.
I think that Washington is ready for the pick. It only took them a couple minutes to get that pick in, so we're going to head back to the podium for Washington's pick. Okay. Well, just a little bit longer. I think it's already a really dramatic day. We know, there's tons of excitement, lots of buzz happening behind us. We're hearing this and that about different types of trades. So, I think maybe they're just building suspense for.
And you have the Spirit Squadron here out in force.
That's when we know the league has made it. As we got the hecklers, the supporters in the crowd.
You got fans traveling.
We just need them behind us soon.
I just can't wait for the reaction when they finally hear it and their dreams have come to fruition. And Amanda Duffy is now heading back to the stage to announce Washington Spirit's #1 overall pick.
With the first pick in the first round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit select Andy Sullivan from Stanford University. Boston Breakers, you are now on the clock.
Hi, it's Andy. Sorry I couldn't be there at the draft, but I'm really thankful that I can participate in this way. I just want to say thank you to the Spirit organization for drafting me. I'm so excited to come back home to the DMV and play with the team that I watched growing up and to come give back to the soccer community that helped me so much throughout my youth. So thank you so much, and go Spirit.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, she's from Loudoun, Virginia. She kind of grew up in an era where there was accessible professional women's soccer. So from that standpoint, that's got to be pretty awesome for Andy Sullivan.
Oh, yeah. To return to your hometown team, like she said, the team she watched growing up, I always loved that story.
And there's just probably such a sense of like a hero's homecoming, if you will, for Washington, who, has been a pretty consistent team, but last year, not the year, they really want it to have. And so to have somebody to kind of put their faith in, like an Andy Sullivan, is great for a fan base.
I mean, it's almost becoming unfair. They're getting so stacked, having Mallory Pugh now with Andy Sullivan to come into that fold. Those two just playing off each other. High soccer IQs between the two of them. You throw in Ashley Hatch At Taylor Smith, this team is flying. I mean, great pickup to solidify that midfield, but they've got weapons now.
And the trades that they made with North Carolina last week, so now they've got Ashley Hatch, who was the Rookie of the Year, 7 goals, and Taylor Smith. You know, it's like, and they had so many players that they lost to injury last season, and they're all coming back healthy. So I was looking at the list of players they have under contract. Jim Gabar's going to have a really hard time cutting players.
They're going all in this offseason,
Yeah.
I feel like.
And you know, they're in a good position for expansion. They've got a lot of depth in that midfield position, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do at that number 3 spot. But I would say last year one of their problems was they leaked goals and they were vulnerable down the center of the park. So now she can provide that shield for that back line, even if they don't get their ideal center backs through this draft.
Well, Boston Breakers, we're on the clock, so now that their pick is in, we're going to find out who they select with the number 2 overall pick as we head back to the podium. Just in a second, though, but real quick with Andy Sullivan, I have a question. There's so much talk about immediate impact. I mean, I feel like when you talk about immediate impact, it's Andy Sullivan, right? So how quickly does this team adapt to her style of play?
I think it would be seamless, to be fair. I mean, she's just a smart player that is going to make everyone else look good. So she's got that capability where she can spray the park, give someone the ball with a little more time and space than perhaps someone else because she can ping it. She can lay it into the right areas. And those are little nuances that teammates thrive on. And then you're going to start to see chemistry develop between her, Benini, if Benini's still there, Pugh, up top. I mean, Ordega running in behind with balls that Andy Sullivan's laying over the top. I just think it's a great situation for Jim Gabara and the Spirit team, and it should be rather seamless.
And with the schedule change
Pick
this
in the
season-
first round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Boston Breakers select Savannah McCaskill from the University of South Carolina. Washington Spirit, you are now on the clock.
Okay, so Savannah goes to Boston Breakers. Jen, how does this change the team? She is someone who's so dynamic, so strong up top. How does this change Boston?
Well, her coach, Shelley Smith at South Carolina, talked about how she was just a program changer for them. I mean, you could play her almost anywhere, but obviously she's been so dynamic at forward. Basically, took that team on her shoulder and brought them all the way into the Final Four this season. And I think she could be that final missing piece for Boston, given the pieces that they have right now, assuming Lavelle is healthy for this season, to have that number 1 pick last year. And they also had the number 3 last year with Morgan Andrews. So then to get a number 2 pick this season, that could be a really powerful midfield.
And they needed someone to take some of the pressure off of
Savannah
Dowie.
McCaskill wasn't available to come, but she did have a little acceptance speech, so we want to show that as well.
Hey guys, it's Savannah here. Sorry I couldn't be there, but I'm out in California with the national team training. Just thank you to Boston for drafting me. I can't wait to get to work and get out there and get started. Go Breakers.
2-time SEC Offensive Player of the Year. She's such a spark.
And she was actually out at the U.S. U23s and the full team camp there. And when I spoke to Jill Ellis, she said, look, this player has been incredibly impressive, and she's been someone who, as a rookie, or we call her rookie when they come into their first national team camps, she's been stepping up and speaking in meetings, and that you don't see all the time, and that speaks to, I think, the confidence that she has in herself. And I just think she's the player that can come into Boston and help be a link-up player. She's not just your run-in behind type front runner. She can be a link-up player, but she does have that pace to get in behind. She was about the 10th fastest player, I believe Jill said, in camp.
Wow.
After that, around that 40-yard mark. So she's got that pace to get in behind, but she's just so good on the ball and in those seams that she's going to help them keep possession, but then she can also take some of the scoring pressure off of Dowie up top.
And she has a great shot from distance. We saw that throughout her college career, and that's also something, Boston wants to try to take advantage of because their head coach said, that's an area where maybe we didn't finish those things last year. And to have somebody score from, outside the box, that's a great skill to have.
And I think that leadership piece is really key to what you're saying about Jill Ellis saying she's speaking up in meetings. She was named captain of the U23 team that traveled to, I think, Sweden, Norway last summer. So that to me speaks a lot about this player's ready to be a leader and make an impact.
And the question will be, do they play her up top? Do they play her as a 10? What role do they think is best suited for her?
With the 3rd pick in the first round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit select Rebecca Quinn from Duke University. Sky Blue, you are now on the clock.
So Rebecca Quinn, another player, that was kind of, her name was up there high up when coaches were talking about her, ACC midfielder of the year, great at defensive mid, great at distributing the ball. I mean, again, for Washington Spirit, they had just another great puzzle piece.
Also, someone with so much international experience, a starter at the 2016 Olympics. To get someone who's played at the senior level internationally coming out of the draft is, it's a steal.
And what I'm going to find interesting, because this is an incredibly talented player, but also a versatile player. She can play center back. She can play in that 6. And you look at Washington and you look at their voids, they do need center backs. But they are loaded in center mids. I mean, they've got Miggy Doherty Howard. They've got Benini. They've got Andy Sullivan. They've got Tori Huster. They've got another one off the top.
Joanna Lohman.
Yep, Joanna Lohman coming back from ACL. They are so loaded there. I am curious to see how this plays out. I mean, do they just roll into the league with the best midfield perhaps, in NWSL, or do they put her in that back line and shore things up and allow her to bring her ability to break lines, to penetrate, to play those 60, 70-yard balls out of the back? When I was talking to her coach, Robbie Church from Duke, he said, the first 3 years she was playing center back because that was our need. But every day in training she was pestering me, Coach, put me in midfield, put me in midfield. I can do the same things I do at center back in midfield. And so that's where she wants to be. We'll see what Gaber decides.
It's interesting because, it's a good problem now that they have where they have to decide, hey, where do we put Rebecca
And
Quinn?
keep in mind, too, she's Canadian, likely an allocated Canadian player. So the
2 free players with Andy Sullivan. Oh, maybe
so the
not
roster
with Andy, I don't
relief
know.
of that. And, props to Canada. That's the highest Canadian drafted in NWSL history.
Well, we know Sky Blue FC is on the clock. We can see them right there kind of going over things. Do you guys have maybe an inkling of, what they might be looking for?
Well, last year, Christy Hawley kind of toyed with us and told us who he thought he would be taking, and then, of course, they took someone totally different. They were pretty tight-lipped when we talked to them, and when you've got back-to-back picks, to me, that always throws a wrench in it of like, okay, you want 2 players, but does it matter which one you announce first? And I think their position number 4, when we all had a pretty strong idea of who 1, 2, and 3 would be, this can't be a hard pick for them. I think it's hard for us to read, but it can't be a hard pick for them.
For sure, they must have. They're in a great little spot in the draft, and they know. Like we talked about, the 1, 2, and 3. Everybody knew who was going to go, but now we're kind of in that uncharted territory, if you will. Of who knows?
Well, they talked about they want versatile attacking players, and they need people that can come in and make an immediate impact. And they think that the players that can do that typically are offensive players. When I was looking at my evaluation of Sky Blue, one of the things that jumped out at me was they need a 10-type player. They need a connector, because they do have some solid players that can shore up the midfield. They've got Rocky in there, but I don't think Rocky's a pure 10. And if they can get Kerr back, now they've got some, they're getting some other pace on the wings. So I think they could use a 10. I think they can still use center backs, and I think they can use outside backs that can run the flank. So they do have a variety of needs, but they did stress that they want versatile attacking players.
And this is Denise Reddy's first time as a head coach in a draft. So do we think we're going to kind of get a sense for, how she's planning to build her team now?
Yes, but also,
well, the pick is in for Sky Blue FC. Let's see who they picked.
With the 4th pick in the first round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue select Michaela Abam from West Virginia University. Sky Blue, you are now on the clock.
Michaela Abam, she's someone who really burst onto the scene, a really fantastic forward.
and Houston native who the Chronicle covered her last week. I know she was considering Europe too. I think the wonderful thing about Michaela is she can play on any one of your lines. She's mostly been at forward for West Virginia because that's where they needed her, but I could see her on defense, on the flanks. I mean, strong, aggressive, physical, skilled, committed, all those great things.
And one of the things that was said about her by actually a couple of people on the calls when we were doing our research heading into this draft was that she can strike the ball harder than any woman they've ever seen. So her ability to put that ball on frame is something they haven't seen the likes of before, and she does fit into that mold as potentially being a versatile attacking player. She was on the radar for a lot of these teams, one of the first names rolling off the tongue for the coaches when we were on those coaches' calls. So I'm not surprised to see her go early in the rounds, and just the fact that she does have that athleticism, that power. She can play more of a 9 and be a target player and be an outlet for them if they get Kerr back. Kerr can be the one to spring and run in behind. So now they've got a little bit of a variety and wrinkle in the way they can get at teams.
Well, we're taking a look at the round 1 picks: Andy Sullivan, Savannah McCaskill, Rebecca Quinn, and now we know Michaela Abom is headed to Sky Blue FC. They're also on the clock again because they have that 5th pick, so they wanted versatile players who can make an impact. Hey, you get that with Michaela Abom. She can play literally anywhere on the field. Where do you think they go from here?
I'm thinking they're still thinking about defense because their offense was amazing last season. They didn't have the defense to match it at all.
Courtesy of one
Right,
player. So
right.
that's a big if, you know.
Right, but their defense killed them.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's remember, Abom was a center back before she came into college, so it speaks to that versatility piece.
Yeah, you can kind of plug her where maybe a hole springs up sort of thing. And we were talking about Denise Reddy and her time being a head coach now ahead of the draft. What do you think her style is going to be like now that she's kind of in charge?
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up was we know that Tony Novo and the management team, that they're all very much into the draft. So I don't think it's something that's just her. I think it's a whole team effort because they've been so into researching all the players. We learned that on our call. Some of these people are so into the research of the draft, and not just like 30 players, but like 50 or 60 players.
You can go down that rabbit hole real easy
Yeah.
if you wanted to. Yeah, for sure. It's happened.
We did it. We all did it, didn't we?
And it should be said that she's returning to a club that she actually helped found back in 2007. It was a youth club. Then they entered WPS in 2008, launched in 2009, won the first WPS title. So this is not a new entity for her. She's kind of returning to a club that she helped form.
And she's familiar with the area. She went to Rutgers, so she's
Yes,
kind of
it's her
in
home
that
field.
New Jersey type of vibe over there. So maybe she'll get a good sense of what not only the team needs, but kind of the community and the fan base needs as well.
So maybe we should be looking for a Jersey girl
just
being
look
taken
at all
right
the Jersey
now.
girls.
Yeah.
You never know, though.
Might be early for that.
We took
Might
the
be
out of
early for the
towner.
local picks. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Maybe second round.
Well, they're still on the clock. A little over a minute left for them on the clock. And we said they might want to go defense, but we know they need somebody to make an impact quickly.
Well, and that's what's the interesting thing, too, right? Because they picked up Christina Gibbons. They picked up Shea Groom. Christina Gibbons, she's one of those versatile players that maybe isn't a specialist anywhere. So where do they see her? Where does Denise see her fitting into their team? Is she going to be an outside back? So maybe that fills one of those voids. There's just a bunch of question marks that she won't know, and that was what she was almost clear about on the calls. I almost don't know until we get into preseason what I really have.
When she looks at them and decides, okay, this is what's going to be best. And when we're talking back about Michaela Abom, who they just selected with the 4th pick, sure, she can play anywhere, but where would you like to see her play?
I think as a hold-up player,
Yeah.
as a 9, someone in and around that box. And like I said, if Kerr comes back, just that other wrinkle of someone who can be an outlet. And then you can also get Shea Groom flying down the wings. I think she would be best suited there, and you find someone that's a true center back, because as a rookie coming in to make that transition back to a center back, it's a lot to ask in this league, and we've seen rookie center backs struggle, especially now that we're entering the 6th year and the league is that much more mature and more sophisticated.
Yeah, we've heard that it's easier to transition an attacking player than it is a defense, but their pick is in, and here's number 5.
With the 5th pick in the first round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue select Imani Dorsey from Duke University. Sky Blue, you are on the clock.
So here's Imani Dorsey. Such a great moment for her, heading to the podium. I mean, she probably dreamt about this as a little kid. So she's going to go make her acceptance speech right now. Just got her sky blue scarf, taking the stage as a number 5th overall pick by Sky Blue FC.
Thank you. First one on the podium, okay. No, I'm just saying.
This is a surreal experience for me. Like, if you told me I was going to have the opportunity to be a professional soccer player when I was 5 years old when I began playing, I would probably believe you, but being here right now I'm blessed and honored. And I just want to thank Sky Blue FC for drafting me. I'm so excited to come to your club. Thank you to my parents, my coaches, my friends and family for all the support and encouragement you have given me over my soccer career. And I want to thank God for blessing me with this opportunity as well. And thank you to the NWSL for having me here. This is an incredible experience. Got here at 2:30, drove here at 2:30 in the morning, so I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, I would say it was certainly probably worth the drive at 2:30 in the morning. Now you're a professional soccer player. Imani Dorsey, 2017 ACC Offensive Player of the Year. This girl's got great speed and great control on the ball.
And this is something she did all the time, is just slalom through defenses. And she does operate best when she's in and around space. But I think with Imani, you're also getting this wonderful asset of being a lefty. And so we don't know where they're going to play her. Yes, she is a great front runner. You're seeing how good she is in and around the box. Robbie Church, her coach at Duke, said she got better and better every year, and she's gotten more nuanced in her runs and how to open up space for herself. But she could be one of those players that they transition to an outside left back. I mean, you talk about all these coaches every year. It doesn't matter what class it is. All they want are left-footed players that can play in the back. So
well,
if
right now,
everyone listening, be a lefty, be an outside back, because you'll get drafted. But Imani is more than that.
Well, Imani is standing by with our Jordan Angeli. So, Jordan, what do you have for us?
I have Imani Dorsey, the 5th pick, going to Sky Blue FC. Now, you talked a little bit about this up there. You dreamed about this moment. Can you actually put into terms what it means to have this come true?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's been an up and down journey for me. I mean, college soccer was not easy, but I grew as a player every year, and I'm so thankful for that, for my coaches for pushing me to expect more from myself and to continuing to give that every year. So just with the season I had last year, I was like, let's go for it. Like, I really want to do this, and to be here right now and to have them call my name was incredible. It was really exciting.
Yeah, and Duke prepared you for this moment. Yeah. What do you have to say about the team that you came from and some of the players that are, sitting here with you as well? That's the atmosphere that maybe is going to help you prepare for the pros.
Oh yeah, I mean, those girls are my best friends, and I think we built a culture of really caring about one another and fighting for one another, and I think I can use that in NWSL, like that encouragement and motivation and determination just to keep pushing forward.
Right. Well, I'm going to give you a hint right here. There's some Sky Blue supporters over there. Okay. You got to go talk to them, be friends with them, because they're going to be cheering you on all year long. I know that.
That's awesome.
All right. Back to you, Marissa.
Thanks, guys. That's so great for her. And we're going to take a quick look at her little career, 2017 ACC Offensive Player of the Year. She had 14 goals. That's tied for the team lead. She is somebody who just attacks from wide areas, as you said. She's super, super athletic and can beat people on the counter. This is another great piece.
Fast as hell with or without the ball. And keep in mind, she's going to be reunited with her teammate from Duke, Christina Gibbons, who was traded to Sky Blue from Utah. I think that's a very potent combination there. I think we saw success with Sky Blue, that they had 2 players from the USC championship team, where it's like, sure, they're rookies, but I think that extra combination can really help.
It's got to make the transition a little easier when they see a familiar face and kind of know that body language already.
Oh, certainly. You have someone immediately that you can go to in the locker room. You have someone immediately that you can sit next to at meals. You have someone that you can go say, hey, what is the environment like? Where should I live? Where are the great places to eat? So it completely helps in your transition professionally, because as an athlete, it's not just about the soccer, it's about your life, and that's going to help her feel comfortable. But I just was running down their roster, and I forgot as well that they got Katie Johnson. So they've got flyers all over the
and
field
now. And they're
now.
also still on the clock right now. They got 30 seconds left to pick the number 6 overall pick. So this Sky Blue roster is really stacking up to be something really special.
People that can challenge for starting roles, that's definitely the case in these picks.
Well, we'll find out soon who they're going to pick, because as you can see, time is ticking down on who they're going to select with that 6 overall pick. So we know they want people to kind of challenge people for the roster. That's kind of a common theme we've been hearing throughout talking to coaches. Is there somebody who comes to mind who you think maybe could challenge for a spot now with the Sky Blue roster as it looks now?
With the next pick, or with?
Yeah, with the next pick.
Again, I go back to, a center back, or again, are they going to play Amani Dorsey as an outside back? That's a big question. We'll see. So outside back, center back position, I still would want to see a 10 in there to help connect their team. Let me look at my backs. There's when you look at the board, there's so many center backs in this draft. Or maybe I'm just paying more attention to them because they're rated rather highly. But I just feel like there's so many defenders in this league, and I think it would behoove them to pick up a pure back.
So Jen, clock hit 0, but there's still some time left. Do you want to explain a little bit about the structure of this?
So we know that the rule is that if you run through your time, normally your pick would be passed, but you're allowed 1 timeout per round. So if you haven't used your timeout, you're automatically granted that timeout. So I would assume that they've either put in a paper and we haven't heard about it yet, or they're getting that first timeout.
And that's another 5 minutes they get to have to kind of figure things out a little bit. So obviously we knew number 6 wasn't always Sky Blue's pick. It was supposed to be Houston Dash's pick. So this is a little bit new for them. Maybe they didn't know exactly who was going to be available, what they want to get off of it. We can see them kind of working at the table. They got tons of notes there. I thought we had a lot of notes, but that table's kind of covered.
And more importantly, they could be trying to call someone. If there's any kind of trade involved and you have to notify a player, or you want to just get one final tidbit from a coach, I don't know.
Or just to confirm that they want to play here in the U.S. Maybe they want to talk to the player because they weren't thinking they were going to be this high in the 7th pick. So there's a lot of things that could be going on at that table. I was looking at the list of center backs that could potentially go high, go early. You'd think Indigo Gibson from Cal has been a name that's been tossed around. Taylor Eisen from BYU. Shula Debris from Duke.
And think too that Denise Reddy, having been with the Washington Spirit for the last several years, she's seen their reserves, their W League team, and those are players who they can still be in college and play on those teams. So there could be a team that's played in the Spirit reserves that she would know more than, okay, well, here's this great college player I've heard a lot of great things about, but I don't know her day in, day out. I haven't seen how she reacts with teammates. I haven't seen her on a bad day, that kind of thing. And I think that's the challenge for most coaches, is to find that information. I've seen some coaches talk about that they will call opposing coaches of a college player that they're interested in, because they want to hear someone who's not trying to sell the player.
Right. And did you put her up on your scouting report as someone we could get at in this way, But someone that I really like is Brittany Basinger.
Okay, well, I'm being told that the league is the one that called a timeout to organize some trades. So that's what's going on.
That is
right
so
now.
not allowed, NWSL.
Now that makes a lot more sense, because we never got the information of why this pick was becoming Sky Blues from Houston. So I'm guessing this timeout will reveal that to us. It better reveal that to us, that why the pick that Houston had gone from 3 to 6, and now this to.
It's going to be a wild day.
We want the answers.
Don't try to explain it, Jen.
I need the answers.
Just buckle up.
I'm the Jensplainer. I'm the Jensplainer. I can't help it.
I did not know that was your nickname, but
it makes a lot of sense
now. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so we're waiting to hear, kind of what's happening right now in terms of the timeout, what trade, if they're getting players, if they're getting other trade picks, what could possibly be happening. So let's go back to a little bit to Amani Dorsey, who just got selected, how she kind of fits into that system. Is she somebody who, Denise Reddy, is she somebody who is her type of player?
Well, that's what I think is really hard for us to see, because we've seen Denise as assistant. We haven't seen her at the Spirit as a head coach, so we don't know yet. I don't have a good sense yet of who is Denise Reddy's style of player in NWSL. We know she's coached elsewhere, but for the last several years, she's been part of those Spirit system, and it's been Jim Guevara in charge. So I don't have a sense. And some of these rosters are still so fluid. I've built the lists and I've shared them online of okay, this is where people are contracted. These are people who have been offered new contracts. We still don't have federation lists for U.S. or Canada. So it's, again, we're going to keep repeating the same cliche. It's a shot in the dark, it's spinning the tail on the donkey. But I like that there's so many unknowns. But I think it's so much more fascinating to watch.
All right, well, Amanda Duffy's going to catch us up on everything going on.
A trade has been approved between the Chicago Red Stars and Houston Dash. The Chicago Red Stars have acquired the 6th pick, 24th pick, and 2 players to be named later. In exchange, the Houston Dash have acquired the 7th pick, an international roster spot, and a player to be named later. A trade has also been approved between Sky Blue FC and Chicago Red Stars. The Sky Blue FC have acquired 2 players to be named later, the 6th pick and the 13th pick. In exchange, the Chicago Red Stars have acquired 2 players to be named later and the 15th pick. With the 6th pick in the first round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue FC select Amadine Pierre-Louis from West Virginia University. Houston Dash, you are now on the clock.
Well, that was a little complicated. But at the end of it, we got Amadine Pierre-Louis, a defender out of West Virginia. She was 2017 Co-Big 12 Defender of the Year, a really competitive player.
I like that they're willing to risk a roster spot on a Canadian, you know, because we don't know if Pierre-Louis is going to be allocated. Quinn seems like very likely to be allocated. Psyched to see another player from West Virginia be in the draft. Last year we were expecting to see Kadisha Buchanan, Ashley Lawrence coming off the best performance they've ever had in the NCAA tournament. Both of them went to France. So here's like the rest of that team.
Yep.
You know, Michaela Baum and Amadine Pierre-Louis.
And I think it's great that they're staying. And there's, you know, because there were conversations had between the Canadians, you know, come over here. No. These players have chose to play here. And that's a good thing, obviously, for the NWSL and the quality of the league. But Amadine Pierre-Louis can play forward. She can play center back. And I think she answers that question of, I think she'll be slotted in center back. That's where she will be best at the next level. My old college coach at Santa Clara University said she can step in and make an immediate impact. So that's how highly he rates her as a center back. I mean, she's all these players, you know, we'll go down the list. The athletic, they're all athletic. And the athletic component is now the base for any of the profile of the players that they're picking. You know, if they have the soccer skill set after, that's a bonus. But athletic has to be there in this league if you were going to step in and make a difference right away.
Sure, to just, you know, fine-tune that athleticism, I'm sure is probably the best way to go about it. And we'll catch you all up to date on, you know, how all these picks came to be. We can see, you know, Andy Sullivan, of course, was the consensus #1 overall pick. Amadine Pierre-Louis just getting picked at number 6 overall. A pretty complicated trade with Sky Blue going up to the number 6 pick. Houston is on the clock right now, but we see Savannah McCaskill, Rebecca Quinn, Michaela Abom, Amani Dorsey all off the board now. These were the big names that people were really throwing around.
And they're from different schools than we normally see. I mean, it's surprising to say this, but this is the first time Stanford's had a #1 pick.
That is surprising.
You know, in this league. First time Duke has had 2 first-round picks. First time West Virginia has had 2 first-round picks. Of course, you'd put an asterisk, you know, for last year. South Carolina, they've only had 1 player drafted in the league before, Sabrina D'Angelo. Now McCaskill going number 2. It's great to see different school names up there.
Sure, different conferences, so these girls have seen different types of talent in terms of what they're used to in terms of in season, and now they're going to kind of be thrust into the professional spotlight. And somebody like Amadine Pierre-Louis, who's, as you said, a great two-way player, another someone they can kind of just drop in and see kind of how she assimilates to the pros.
And she was someone who broke her leg last year, so she's been recovering from that. And so that is one of the reasons that she maybe wasn't considered for allocation initially by Canada, but I think she's someone who can potentially earn that spot going forward. So it's something to keep an eye on. I mean, we've had players in the past that have gone under the radar, although she's being picked really high because they've had injuries.
Now we know Houston Dash is on the board. They were up at number 3 and now they're back at number 7. So what do you think they're thinking right now?
They thought that, I mean, I talked to Brian Ching, they thought that what was going to be available at 7 was going to be just as good as what they could have picked at 3. So they had a different mindset. They didn't think those top 3 were necessarily a step above than this bottom grouping, if you will. So they think they've got some quality to be had at this pick.
And Vera Powell, new coach to the league, new coach to pro soccer. She's coached 4 different international teams. But this is a different beast. She hasn't dealt with the college draft before. Thankfully, she's got Lisa Cole advising her. But I think her attitude is it doesn't really matter where I get players from, signing them from foreign countries, signing other Americans, trading. drafting. So to me, it speaks a little bit to they must have players coming from elsewhere as well.
Who do you think what kind of player do you think they need to kind of?
Well, they're overloaded on forwards, so they clearly don't need forwards. So I'm thinking with having traded away Andresina to Portland, that I think midfield is where they need to be looking.
And I think they need a creative type midfielder.
I'd like to clarify Sky Blue FC acquired 3 players from Chicago Red Stars as part of the last trade. With the 7th pick in the first round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Houston Dash select Haley Hansen from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Portland Thorns, you are now on the clock.
She was someone, when I was combing through a lot of video, I starred her immediately and said, this kid's got something special. Her ability to break lines, she's athletic, she can cover ground, and then it turns out, and this is where I think a lot of the movement has come from with these coaches, is that BJ Snow told everyone at 23s she was the dominant player there. She was dominant in every session. She was dominant in every game they had. He moved her to a 6 role where she thought she would eventually be best because she can play a 6'8", she can play a 10, but she moved seamlessly into that 6, and she could pop up into these little pockets and find the ball. She could dictate play, and just an athlete that can break lines. And I think she's one of those dark horses that is going to come into the league and make a massive difference. So well done by Houston by maybe jumping down to that 7th spot, because they picked up a streaker in her.
Well, and she's one of the few players who was invited to the December and January U23 camp. Then that spoke a lot to me, that it's like, wow, to get that call back.
And Jen, interestingly enough, that was her first national team camp exposure. This is someone that has flown under the radar in the Big Ten. And actually, BJ said, we have this scouting process in place now, and it worked. We had a profile that we were looking for, and she checked the boxes. We went out, we saw her, and that's why she got the call up. So even in her league, she wasn't as respected as perhaps she should have.
Well, we heard when we were talking to some coaches that, she can fly under the radar. She went pretty high in the first round.
I would not have anticipated that she was a first-round pick.
Yeah, that's kind of the consensus we all got, that people were kind of, maybe not giving her the love or the admiration maybe she needed, but looking at that film, she's somebody that really seems very dominant. She's great diving headers, really good on set pieces too.
She just got an incredible engine, and her ability, she's going to translate to the speed of play of the game. She is someone, maybe I'm overselling her, but this is someone I'm extremely excited about watching. Soccer IQ, she's got it all. She has all the tools, and now it's about getting her an environment, a competitive environment, where she can go to that next level. But I don't think the speed of play is going to daunt her. I don't think the physicality is going to daunt her. I think she is smart enough that she is going to be able to find how to impact a game regardless of how they're playing, regardless of how they're approaching the opponent. So this is a big pickup by Houston.
How do you think this is going to kind of shape their team now, because you have somebody like this that they can kind of plop right in the center?
I mean, this is a big get for them, because losing Andresina, and they are suddenly very heavy on forwards. And again, I mean, a lot of rosters are still in flex. This is an immediate need. And if a player has performed that well coming under the radar, I think that says a lot. But more interesting to me, the final draft pick last year was from Nebraska, Caroline Flynn. And she ended up being a starter for Kansas City. Houston has had 2 Nebraska players in the past, Jordan Jackson, Ari Romero the first season, who were not big names, but just like sacrificed themselves for the team. And I mean that literally. That first season was physically, pretty tough for them. But so I think there's something coming out of Nebraska that's really performing.
Yeah, and we can see, how the Houston Dash is kind of looking now. Roster additions and departures. Savannah Georgian is in, Lindsay Agnew, and out Andresina. So this changes the shape of them.
It certainly does. And Lindsay Agnew, someone who I believe Vera Powell is looking at as potentially an outside back. Savannah Jordan, I rate extremely high. If she could come back and get herself fit at that level, because one of the things when I even think about Haley Hansen is the fact that she has this engine. One of the hardest places to play in this league is Houston Dash in the summer.
Oh yeah.
And having that engine is really going to benefit her and set her apart from some of the other players. Savannah Jordan is going to have to be someone that adapts to that type of environment, but a lot of tools perhaps for Haley Hansen to combine off of Lindsay Agnew's a very good player. Savannah Jordan can post up or make those runs in behind. If they still have Janine Becky, another player she can combine with and play well with, because Janine Becky seems to fall off when she plays for Houston. Well, now if she's got someone that can take some of that load off of her in the center of the park, how does that impact her performance?
And it's got to help somebody like Haley to have all those pieces around her to learn as she goes, to kind of be surrounded by people like that on the field to kind of bring her back up to that level, because you said you've seen really fantastic stuff out of her on a national type level. So to kind of have those supporting casts and people that it's not maybe feeling all on her.
Well, and if, playing with Carly Lloyd and an NWSL veteran like Kaylee O'Hai, it's like to have that experience right out of college. But I think she could slot in there.
Well, we know Portland Thorns are on the clock right now. Clock is ticking down, so we might be in another situation where we might hear some trades or hopefully a pick soon. But what do you think Portland needs? I mean, they had a pretty great year, but what do you think they want to do to their roster?
I think Mark Parsons is always thinking 3 steps ahead. Like last year he didn't have a lot of picks. Portland is the only team that actually went a whole draft with 0 picks. So they've got their own style of doing things.
What year was that?
2015, I think. It was strange. Like we thought they would trade for one and they never did, But last year, I think they picked Tyler Lucy way low, and she was injured and she was a question mark. They picked Savannah Jordan, who probably would have been a first-round pick, but it was known that she was going to Europe. But he takes the risk on it, and hey,
With the 8th pick in the first round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Portland Thorns select Sandra Yu from the University of Notre Dame. Portland Thorns, you are now on the clock.
Okay, so with the number 8 overall pick, the Portland Thorns select midfielder Sandra Yu out of Notre Dame. She was 2017 All-ACC first team. She's got great technical ability. Is this surprising to you that they went with somebody like this, or that she went so high?
No, that she was definitely one of the people I would have said somewhere in the top 20, as weak as that sounds to predict. But coming out of Notre Dame, being part of the recent U23 camps, having that soccer IQ, knowing that Portland is going to be a really hard roster to break into. I looked at some of the players to see, okay, when did they say they would be available? She's someone that is likely not going to report until she finishes her degree in May. So I would imagine that Portland's like, okay, here's someone that can slot in later. Here's a developmental project, and always keeping in mind there's always possible international absences, even with trying to work around the FIFA calendar. It's like I think it's like a long-term plan.
And what's interesting about Sandra Yu to me is I think she fits really well with one of the things that Portland lacked last year. And we get a look right now at who's in, who's out. Caitlin Ford, a huge pickup for me for Portland. I mean, just pacey front runner. That was one piece they were missing. They needed that thread. Haley Rasso provided it, but they needed someone else up there with her to fly in behind. But I think early on, the way Mark Parsons wants to play is to build out of the back. And they would get trapped on the sides. They would lose the ball in those pockets, in the flanks. And Sandra Yu is someone that can problem solve for them. She can get the ball in those spaces, combine, take on 1v1. More importantly, just keep the ball for them. And so I think she is going to be a huge asset to them if she can make her way into the lineup. Obviously, you see Allie Long's out of there, Henri's out of there, so they do need some more center mids. Andresinia comes in. But I do think Sandra Yu perhaps solves a problem for them if she can earn a starting role. Of course, you have got Tobin Heath, but you could be on the other side. She was versatile as well. She played multiple positions for Notre Dame, so her points weren't that high. It doesn't look that impressive on paper, but ultimately she can be a role player for them.
Now, they said their objective was to draft players who can not only help this year, but like you said, into the future. Next year, it's World Cup qualifiers. They need people just at their disposal. Seems like she kind of fits that bill a little bit here. She's really dynamic. She is pursuing a graduate degree. So as you said, she's still in school. So maybe that's where she is studying. We don't know. But but to have her kind of available and just kind of groom her into what she could be. Do you think her ceiling is high?
If Mark Parsons is looking at her ceiling's definitely high. And I love the number of players that, as we were researching her scene, it's like currently working on her graduate degree. Graduated but still played, her last redshirt season while she was working on her graduate degree. It's like, wow.
And she's actually 2 years older than a lot of the draftees because of that. But one of the things, too, that BJ Snow told me about her was, you look at the greatest mentalities that he's seen in some of the players he's coached. McCaskill's one, Sandra Yu's another. He said her mentality is unbelievable. And what I liked about her when I watched her clips of her games and links to her games was her ability to close down the defense. So you think about also the way Portland played. They wanted to press at times and push high, force those turnovers, and then pounce. And she's someone who just has this great burst and change of speed to put teams under pressure. And I think that'll be somewhere too where she has an asset, will be an asset for them. Of course, she's someone that you want to develop and get ready. I don't know that she can step in right away, but ceiling-wise, she's someone that could easily fit into their style.
Well, let's catch you up to date with who's been drafted. Right now, we're currently waiting for the number 9 overall pick, but here's a look 1 through 8. Andy Sullivan, like we all knew, was going to go number 1 overall to Washington. We got Savannah McCaskill off the board, Rebecca Quinn, Michaela Abom, Imani Dorsey, Amadine Pierre-Louis, Haley Hansen, and just now Sandra Yu coming out of Notre Dame, heading to Portland. Now, we kind of knew the top 3, and as we said, after that, it's kind of a guessing game, if you will. Was there anybody who's not been called yet that you're surprised, or people who have been called that didn't think they would go?
I was thinking we might see Indigo Gibson from Berkeley. We might see Brie Vazali from Pepperdine.
Yeah, those are 2 names also that, have been kind of floating around a little bit. But like you said, it's very much turning out to how we thought it would be, where top 3, done. It's cut and dry. And now it's kind of exciting to see, okay, well, who are these other coaches really putting up on that high tier? And we're just hearing now that Portland called a timeout. So now they'll have a little bit of extra time and to figure out what they want to do.
Could that be another trade? I mean, we've had 2 trades today already.
Yeah, what do you think is going through their minds now?
And all these unnamed players, name them.
Players to be named later.
Unnamed players who clearly aren't answering their phones because they know that they're the unnamed players.
They're just hitting.
Timeout.
Much to the dismay of the crowd, they've announced a timeout.
Not a fan favorite to take the timeout because all these people are really excited. A lot of fans traveled. They want to hear. I'm sure the girls who are sitting in the crowd who are here, they want to know.
And let's not forget, if you're sitting in those seats, Portland's one of the best places you can play in this league in terms of environment. That crowd gets rocking, so you want to go there. That's a soccer environment you think of when you think of playing professionally in the U.S., so.
Really, when you talk about that, the attendance is through the roof, just the community kind of being invested in that team. You can't ask for more as a professional women's team to, feel just as important, if not more important sometimes than your counterpart males.
Well, and get this, Marissa, their average attendance in 2017 was higher by 1,000 people per game than it was 2016. I know people assume that they sell out all their games, and that's not quite true, but to see an increase like that, that's remarkable.
And sometimes their attendance are more than, there was a study done, more than MLB teams, more than some NHL teams. These women are out selling those types of teams, and it's just great to see, as a fan of the league, to see that happening. And as you said, it's great to hear, Portland, such a gold mine to go to, as you said, Allie. And here's the Portland table kind of mulling it all over who they're going to bring into their nice little team that they have set up. So why don't we talk about Portland, as a whole right now, how they're looking. What do you think about their roster, as it stands?
I think that they are incredibly talented, incredibly deep, and they're going to be another big team next year, and it's just going to continue that way. I mean, look at Parsons just wheeling and dealing. They call him the wheeler and dealer on the floor, and he just goes and messes with everyone's heads. You see Notting Unger there in the middle on that left side, but as far as what they're trying to accomplish, I think it's positioning themselves for expansion, knowing that that's come, get depth in areas. Let's not forget they no longer have Ali Long and no longer have Henri. Andresina comes in, yes, but that's not the same type of player that either of those 2 are. So I could think they could benefit from having a Pier 6.
And losing Nadia Nadim, you know, she went back to Europe, signed with Manchester City. She wasn't a starter for most of the season, but such an impact player coming off the bench. You know, cold as ice with her penalty kicks. You also have Dagny Brynjar-Strader out for the season. She and her boyfriend are expecting. Again, not someone who started a lot, and especially she and Nadim both had commitments because of the Women's Euro last summer, but to have a player like that on our bench, you know, a full international with her experience. So they need a little shoring up of depth, but not nearly as much as what some of the other clubs are working on.
Well, sure, because they're just coming off a championship year where,
right,
you know, things went pretty well for them as is.
Right.
You know, don't fix what's not broken, sort of thing. But
Yeah, but you've got to keep evolving.
sure.
And you still have the question mark of Tobin Heath, who missed the bulk of the regular season. We did see her in the playoffs, but now has been, you know, still kind of held out of U.S. national team camp. But she, you know, that's another factor.
And that's why a U might, you know, be another good pickup for them if he can't get 100% healthy. But I still think that you've got Lindsay Horan. Horan's going to be your 8 type player. She can play the 10, but Andrusina's there for the 10, so I think they just need another piece to the center of midfield. Of course, they can benefit from maybe another outside back, just to give them a little more depth there. But their flanks are well taken care of, and they've got versatility in those pieces. So it'll be interesting to see how they move on this one.
Well, we talked about Andrusina coming in. That was an off-season move for them. What does she do exactly for the team in terms of how will she change, you know, the style of play, or how will her style complement what they do in Portland?
Well, she was the engine for Houston's midfield. The only time she wasn't on the field is when she absolutely couldn't, when she was injured. Great with corners, great with free kicks, and just, I mean, so small physically, what an impact on the field. So I think they'll have to adapt to her style, but what a great get.
Well, the pick is in, so let's head to
With
the
the
podium.
9th pick in the first round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Portland Thorns select Gabby Seiler from the University of Florida. North Carolina Courage, you are now on the clock.
And that's a massive pickup for Portland. This was a player that, interestingly enough, when we spoke to all the coaches in preparation for the draft, she was someone they all mentioned and said, hopefully she falls. Hopefully she's under the radar. Well, we never told anyone, but by the way, she's not under the radar. Incredibly versatile, and that's all these players that we say are versatile, of all of them, she stands out to me because she's actually a specialist while being versatile, meaning she will own the position they put her in. She can play center mid. She can play in the center back position. She can play outside back. She can play outside mid. So you've got this great tool. Now it's about fitting her into your puzzle. I just said I think they need a center mid, so I can see her slotting in there. But when they need an outside back, she can go there. She can go outside. I mean, that is the beauty of a Seiler. You get her into camp and you see what you have.
She can also play basketball, and she is going to play basketball for the Gators, which I think is really interesting. So she'll be a little late to camp. Early March is her arrival time, and again, I wonder if Parsons is kind of playing on that. Hey, maybe other people won't take her because they know she'll be late to camp, and she's someone I can use later who maybe I don't have to use right away.
And who knows, maybe she's open for negotiations and will come in early. I mean, you just never know, right? You find out you're going to be in Portland. Oh, by the way, she's a lefty. We talk about these players. She's a lefty. She's got a great engine. So you take your profile of a player and you check your boxes off. She's got it all. She's quick, she's shifty, she's athletic, she's a lefty, she can be versatile, she can take players on, she can combine. Oh, she can shoot from outside the box. I mean, honestly, this is a player that is a well-rounded, and when you evaluate the depth or the quality of players in these classes, and each generation as we go, the players are just getting better and better and more athletic, and it's exciting for women's soccer.
Well, sure, because, I mean, you're just inundated with a youth soccer now, and the level of competitiveness at those ages only pushes them to when they get to the college levels and now pros. Somebody like Gabby Seiler has all these tools in her arsenal. You talked about how she can take players one-on-one, but she's also very calm and confident on the ball, where, you know, you want that in a midfielder a little bit too.
But I'm also seeing the evolution of coaching, you know, and here we are at the United Soccer Coaches Convention, that, you know, players are being exposed to higher and higher level of coaching. So that when they do get to this level, more often than not, we're seeing a player who has technical skills that maybe 5 years ago the player was coming out of college, well, maybe she's a great athlete, but she didn't necessarily have the technical skills. So the talent's getting better. The rosters are getting harder to make. So it's a fascinating conundrum.
Do you think Gabby Seiler is going to be that person who can really push into the roster early?
I think she has a very good chance.
With the 10th pick in the first round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the North Carolina Courage select Franny Kraus from Penn State University. We will have a 10-minute break between the first and second rounds.
All right, well, to round out that first round, Franny Kraus, the forward from Penn State, selected number 10 overall by North Carolina Courage. Guys, what do you think?
Another great pickup. I mean, this was a player that when I was calling Pac-12 games a few years back, she stood out to me when I watched Penn State play. She had a bow in her hair, but she was a feisty player, almost like a Rasso that would just mix it up. And you can see she is so fast. When this player turns on the jets, I talked about Sandra Yu's ability to close down defenders. Franny Kraus takes that maybe to the next level. She can just say, boom, I'm going, and she will put a defender under pressure before they realize she is coming and just take the ball off of them. I think she's a player that maybe at the next level transitions to an outside back position. And oh, by the way, North Carolina just happened to lose their right side back, Taylor Smith, in the trade that they did a few days ago. So I can see her slotting into that position. Of course, it's going to take a transition period, but she's got the tools. She is feisty, she's tough, she's incredibly fast, she's really good on the ball.
And she did miss part of the season this last season with injury. It was clear the team was not the same without her. So again, if she's got some recovery time that she needs, North Carolina's roster is so deep that you don't need her to suddenly break in.
No, you don't. And I actually spoke to her coach, Erica, at Penn State, and she said she is the fastest player I've ever coached.
Wow.
And that says a lot because you think about the talent and the pace that she's coached. That is what a burner she is. And again, we go to this profile of a player. Athletic, fast, can play on the flank. She can play the 7, she can play the 11, she can play the 9. I've watched her movement. She's got a great sense of how to pull off and open up channels, find the seams. She can combine. She can do a lot of different things. She's not just a runner, and that's this next evolution of player that we're seeing infiltrate into the league.
Well, let's take a really quick recap look at how this first round played out, because as we said, 1 through 3, we kind of had a good idea of where everybody was going. 4 through 10 is a little bit not surprising, but just the order probably. But Franny Kraus rounding out that final pick. Guys, what pick really excites you when you see a team really went for somebody? I know you had a couple favorites, Allie.
I'm smiling. There's many, but I think because we know the Sullivan, McCaskill, Quinn, I hate to gloss over them because I think they are that amazing of players, but I think we anticipated that. So it's Hansen for Houston from Nebraska. I mean, big pickup there. She, I think, is going to be a surprise in the league. And then I like the Seiler Kraus picks at the end to round out that top 10. I think Gabby Seiler is, again, a versatile, just really talented player, and Kraus is going to be an exciting player that you're going to be wanting to get on the ball in that flank space.
I'm really excited to see Amandine Pierre-Louis because I really didn't think that a team would risk an international spot, especially in the first round. I was thinking maybe 3rd or 4th round, well, let's take them and see. So I love that a player of that quality is getting a legit chance to make a roster. I mean, I'd love to see her, end up being allocated for Canada, but that's a big unknown. So I like to see coaches taking risks in the draft.
And maybe they're hoping for that to happen in the future, but they do have those 4 international spots, so it's a waste if you let them sit there.
Right, and that we won't find out for a little bit to see who's allocated and who, won't take up that international spot. So we could see this really pay off for them a little bit. But heading into, first round's in the books. Second round, there's still a good amount of talent left. Is there somebody you think might go early? Looking at the order for the second round, Washington Spirit picks again. They're cleaning up here in Philly today.
Mallory Pugh's just licking her chops in Washington. Thank you.
What do you think they're going to do? Maybe second round, an area maybe they haven't addressed or want to address?
I still think you go to get cover for your center backs. I think you get some outside backs. I think that's where they could benefit the most. They're just loaded in the center of the park, so I would not be surprised if they make a defensive choice in the top of the round.
And keep in mind, Jim Guevara is the only person who's coached every single season of women's pro soccer in this country, all 3 leagues. So he's drafted more players than anyone else. So I wouldn't even see him trading away this pick, where it's like he is so used to this process, I think really enjoys this process. So he's got something planned for this. What it is, I would really like to know. I'm still thinking Indigo Gibson or Brie Vasali would be, either one of those would be a great pickup.
Yeah, Vasali would be a great attacking pickup, but I still think he's got to go defensive. I think you can get an Eisen from BYU.
Well, we've been talking about these players, but we'll give you an actual look at them. Here's our best of first-round players.
Boston will play on. Lavelle in. Rose Lavelle, her first professional goal.
Thinking about a chip shot, it never turned into anything until Hatch puts it in with the left foot. Trying to race after Gibbons, who's got an opening, and Gibbons has it deflect into the net.
Heath, service, D'Angelo's out, the ball's still in the box, Sonny with the equalizer!
Lofted in to the back post, a lot of bodies, Rodriguez comes down with a toe pokes it and it's in!
Rachel Daly tries the left-footed curler, and she finds the upper corner. Now it's Michelle Prince, wide right. Rachel Daly against Menges. It falls. 1-0 dash.
I don't think there's a better set-piece taker than Dahlkemper in the women's game.
Beautiful strike from Sam Mewis.
And it does again. Ursek flicks it on to Mewis. Ball in the box now for Williams. The shot in the corner, and she got the goal!
Through.
Dunn, 1-on-5, she doesn't care. Dunn in the box, bump from Masser, shot from Dunn! 1-on-5, it's not a fair fight anyway.
You have got to be kidding me.
Molly lurking in the area. Oh, hi. Far post, what a beautiful goal!
Nagasato plays toward the middle, it's headed toward the net and in! Chicago takes the lead thanks to Julie Ertz.
Spencer trying to split 2 defenders. Short goes down to the ground. Doniak trying to get the cross off. She does. Look at France pull it down.
Now it's Nairn trying to catch Henninger off of her line, and she does!
Well, some great talent just selected in that first round. And now we're here joined with the NWSL Managing Director, Amanda Duffy. Thanks so much for being here. Well, we want to talk a little bit about the lifetime deal, because we touched on that earlier in the show, but we're heading into the second year of a 3-year deal on a national network. What does this mean for the league? Talk a little bit about that deal.
It's such an important partnership for us, and A&E Networks, Lifetime have been great partners to the league so far. They certainly have gone above and beyond in promoting the league itself, the visibility of NWSL, and telling the stories of the athletes in this league that make this authentic and real for the players, and make it fun for the fans too, to get to know who these women are and what they represent and what their journey has been. But Lifetime just continues to be they are a great partner. We look forward to this year some good important changes that we'll have with them, and bring more content and make NWSL more of a household name.
And speak to some of the changes that we're seeing this year with Utah coming into the mix. What about the organization has impressed you? What would you like to see emulated in the league?
It's having Utah Royals come into NWSL this offseason is such an important aspect for the growth and long-term viability of NWSL. The ownership with Deloy Hansen, tremendously excited about him being a part of what we're doing in NWSL. He's shown a tremendous amount of commitment and a passion and excitement about bringing this team to Utah and incorporating it into that community that he's really building a great brand and organization top to bottom. And they're just going to have the first-class resources, the facilities. The women are going to play at Rio Tinto Stadium, and to expose these women to that professional environment, I think is going to be tremendous just for the players to see that and experience that, and just help elevate the overall standard and what we're trying to show and move towards with NWSL.
And what have you seen as far as reception goes from Utah with the team coming there?
Well, they're above 300 or 3,000 season ticket holders, so the fans have responded, that community has responded, and we have
awesome.
All the confidence that they're going to be leaders in NWSL for many years.
Awesome, I love that.
Well, what do you think, about the, ratings increase in terms of the game of the week? That's got to be something so super positive. We said before, this is the only league that's lasted this long, so to kind of be at the helm of everything and be able to provide it to so many different people, that's got to be pretty special too.
It is, and Lifetime puts us in more than 90 million households, and it's an audience and a demographic that we might not connect with if we were on another network. So it introduces us to a new audience, a new fan base, and allows us to grow the fans that we hopefully are going to ultimately turn out as fans that are coming to games and supporting the league in a bigger way. But also with that, we had Go 90, all of our digital broadcasts on Go 90, and we're able to improve our digital broadcast as well. So overall, between A&E and Lifetime, what they've helped us accomplish in the first year of this partnership and where we see this going, there's a lot of synergies, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, I know we're really excited about too, and excited about heading into that second round of the draft too. What are your emotions about it?
It's been it went quickly to me. There were a lot of big moves that happened, and I'm excited about of course the players that have been drafted, some really key important trades that have happened in the first round as well, and I think it's really gonna make some moves that see the identity of teams in this league change, which will be fun to watch how that works on the field.
Tell us, give us names.
You'll know soon enough, but they're big, they're important, and I'm excited for the players that are a part of that.
And when you think of the marketing of the league, and we've got A&E and Lifetime and how huge that is, where else do you think that we can spend our resources to help grow the exposure?
Yeah, I think, there's always the players. You can always think and talk about the word of mouth and what the players can do if they're confident, if they enjoy their experience in the league and feel like as a professional athlete they're having that experience. They're going to just promote the league in an organic way. But for us, getting into those grassroots, incorporating ourselves more into what the Development Academy and other youth organizations are doing, and just introducing NWSL to players at a younger age. It's surprising to me that so many youth players and people in the soccer community still aren't familiar with NWSL. So we need to make sure this brand is known, and that, gosh, look at the talent, look at the players in this league, and it should be really a household league that everyone's aware of. So there are several areas, and A&E does give us such a wonderful platform to promote the league itself and the players.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's probably nice for you to take a little break after up and down to the podium, but right now we're going to check in with our fourth member of the team, Jordan Angeli.
Guys, thank you, and good news there from Amanda Duffy. I know we're all wanting some more information, right? I got some more information here on the draft floor, really, during all those picks. And the word I kept hearing from all the coaches is versatility. Talk to Portland. They get Sandra Yu, they get Gabby Seiler, and they say versatility. They can fill in a lot of gaps. Portland doesn't need specific players. They need someone that can fill if somebody maybe is away for a national team camp, if maybe someone gets injured, can they fill a multiple position? So that's what they got there. One of the things I liked the most is I talked to Houston, and I was chatting with them about their pick right before Amanda Duffy went up to pick that pick. And Vera said, hold on, Jordan, I want to watch this. It's her first draft. She enjoyed the moment. And I think I'm with you, Allie. I think getting Hansen, this is a good pick. I talked to a coach at the 23 camp, and he said she's a forward thinker. And not only that, she's humble. She's eager to learn. And that's exactly what you want going into this NWSL season, where these spots are hard to find. That's all I got here, guys.
Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, these spots, on the rosters, as we said, it's hard to break into. And but as we said, it also kind of just speaks volumes to where this league has gone, and that it's hard to break into these rosters. And some of these players, might not have the chance, but that's kind of good when you look at it.
It just means it's going to be more competitive across the board, which we know game to game is already pretty competitive, but that means you have such a small difference between what we would call the haves and have-nots. You know, it's like you've got your Portland, what we consider maybe the Galacticos of the NWSL, and teams that we've really seen struggle the last couple of seasons. But on game day, it's still anybody's game, and that's one of the reasons I love watching this league.
And some of this is flipping that on its head. I mean, Sky Blue has picked up some great players, Houston. So it's going to be interesting to see who are the haves and have-nots by the end of the day, by the end when these trades come out, when it comes to light who's been moved. I think we're going to see a lot of shakeup, so it's going to be interesting. But what I would say is that we need those reserve teams now to be able to craft and develop these players that can't break into the rosters.
Well, right now we're going to go back to the podium for the start of the second round.
I'm pleased to announce that joining NWSL to announce draft picks this round will be Elizabeth Brayman, Vice President of Corporate Development and Strategy for A&E Networks. Mary Harvey, former women's national team player, World Cup champion, and Olympic gold medalist, Special Advisor of Human Rights, United Bid 2026. And Marin Fawcett, Nike Pro League Manager. Washington Spirit, you are now on the clock.
All right, so for the third time today, we've heard those words. Washington Spirit, you're back on the clock. We saw them in the first round, number 1 overall, take Annie Sullivan. Then at the number 3 pick, select Rebecca Quinn. They've got some good players right now. They're really building something special, it seems, in this off season. We talked a little bit about what they could be looking for, maybe midfielders. What do you think's gonna happen here?
No, they're full of midfielders. They're full of them.
I'm still gonna say Indigo Gibson or Bria Vizali, because I think they're both great picks at this point.
Well, here's a look at what they've done so far. As we said, Annie Sullivan first, Rebecca Quinn third. Just so much talent. Kind of find somebody, I guess, who complements that talent now in this second round.
And it's center backs to me. I know Visali might be the best player on the board,
but not what Spirit needs.
But not who they need. So then do they take her and use her as leverage to trade her away? Well, she's a rookie. Maybe that's just not enough there for someone to be tantalized by. I still think they go with the center back. Indigo Gibson has been someone that's been rated pretty highly. There's others out there. I like Basinger, and she's got local ties to the area, the Penn State kid. I think Basinger is one of those center backs that just understands the game. She plays against the flow of the opponent. She makes those entry passes. So if they want to build out of the back, as Guevara likes to do, she's one of those players that can do it. She's got the composure of the ball. Debris, another one, just a straight up solid defender, one of the few in the draft. That's what I've been told by them. Kind of an old-fashioned center back that just hard-nosed tackler, that type of player. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, I don't know what they're going to go with the center back, but if I was in their shoes, that's something what I would look to take at this moment.
Yeah, and they said, they've had a lot of players returning from injury, so do you think maybe they could also be kind of trying to just, get some backups or people who can play minutes in those positions?
Well, if I'm a coach, I want the player that's going to come in and really compete for that spot in preseason. And preseason's coming up sooner than it has in previous seasons. And we need to remember that today might seem like the crowning achievement in someone's college career, but really it's day one of their professional career. So it's so exciting to be part of this draft, but you forget afterwards that all this is a reserved space in preseason camp. And if I'm Jim Guevara and I have such a big roster already because you have all those players coming back from injury, I want this person that maybe she's player number 25 on the roster, but she's going to fight like hell to make one of those 20 spots to really bring everybody up to the next level.
Sure, nothing is even guaranteed, when you do get drafted. So we can talk about that a little bit too, of the pressure that's now on the player to, okay, somebody liked me, but now I got to prove it on the field.
That means absolutely. You get drafted, it doesn't mean much.
Yeah.
You got to go in, you got to do the work and prove that you deserve a spot out there. And that's where there's always questions surrounding these picks. You just hope that they have the intangible qualities that make them good pros.
With the first pick in the second round, of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit selects Skyler Debris from Duke University. Houston Dash, you are now on the clock.
Well, there she is, the defender, Skyler Debris, out of Duke, making her way to the podium. Lots of hugs on her way there. You can tell, I mean, this is just such a great moment for her. She was the 2017 ACC Defensive Player of the Year. She's getting her Washington Spirit scarf, joining some pretty excellent company in terms of draft picks for Washington, and we'll hear from her now.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I think they're going to want to take pictures. Oh, right.
And Duke having 3 picks now in the first 11.
Yeah,
I think this could be the Duke draft.
All right. Duke showed up pretty strong today. Second on the podium, definitely an honor to be here. Thank you so much to the Spirit for drafting me. I'm just so excited that I can continue to play the game that I love. Thank you, first and foremost, to my family, my parents, my brother, all the coaches and players that I played with throughout my years, and my most recent team and coaches, Duke, of course. It's been so much fun, but I'm so excited for this next chapter. So thank you guys so much.
Well, we talked about, them needing a defender, and, you kind of got a little bit of everything with Skyler Debris.
Right on cue. I mean, and let's not forget, she played with the reserves for Washington in 15, so there is that familiarity with Cabrera. But this is a defender that was a right back early on in her career, tore ACL. Then the last 2 years, she's been a center back. And when I talked to Robbie Church, he said, look, because she was playing so well, she was the reason that we could free up Quinn and get her into midfield finally, because Debris was able to step in there and play those 50-yard balls. Maybe they weren't the 70-yard balls that Quinn can play, but they're 50-yard diagonal balls. She's comfortable. She can break lines. She will penetrate. So if you want a playmaking center back to set play the way Cabrera does, she can be that person. She can step in there and dictate play and then free up, who do you got? Andy Sullivan. Who do you have? Quinn. There's a familiarity there already. So there are things falling very nicely for Jim Cabrera and Washington Spirit, and Debris just fits in, I would say, really well with them if she can perform well in preseason, earn that starting role.
And keep in mind, she was part of the defense that held the nation's top offense scoreless in the NCAA semifinal. You see, Stanford and Duke. Am I getting this right? Stanford and Duke going. No.
Yeah, they lost in the semis.
Yeah,
Duke.
Yeah, I think I'm flipping my teams, but a 0-0 draw. Just such a composed player on the ball, and obviously coming in as a defender, but so much else that she can offer.
Well, the next pick is in, number 12.
With the 12th pick in the second round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Houston Dash selects Kimberly Keever from University of Washington. Sky Blue FC, you are now on the clock.
And that's a good pickup as well. I've seen Keever play a fair amount with University of Washington, calling those games, and she's one of those players that is so fast and quick on the ball, but she's going to be your converter. She's going to be your one that she played up top for Washington on the flank. She's a lefty. She can slot into that left back position if she can make that transition in the pro game and be an asset for Houston. We talked about them needing some outside backs, some pace on those wings to get involved going forward. Well, she could be the answer again if she can make that transition to the pro level.
Well, Jordan Angeli is standing by with Skyler Debris, who's just selected number 11 overall by the Washington Spirit.
Skyler, you just got selected. Big smiles over here. She was super stoked coming down. Yeah. Now, you said your mom joined you. Were there tears after that?
Yeah, when I gave her a hug, she was kind of whimpering. She was like, I'm so proud of you. So they were definitely coming. I didn't see them, but I'm sure,
And you have versatility to you, and you come from a team in Duke where you had a lot of experience going to the Final Four. How do you think those experiences will help you adapt to playing at Washington Spirit?
Yeah, I mean, I think being at the Final Four 2 years, granted it was only 1 year for me really, because I was in the stands with an ACL tear the first year, being on those big stages helps you to give you the confidence and know that you can compete at the highest level.
Yeah, a little extra special because you get to go play with your Duke teammate.
Oh, it's so cool. I'm so excited.
All right, congratulations. Enjoy the rest of the day.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Back to you guys, Marissa.
Thanks, Jordan. That's pretty cool that she'll be able to kind of hook up with a college teammate. That doesn't happen often, and it's really a great experience for them. But, you know, back to the Houston Dash and who they just selected in Kimberly Kiever. Now they have a couple different selections at midfield. She's, you know, as you said, somebody who's versatile, holds her own in physical battles too, which is, I'm sure, important when transitioning into the pros.
And coached by Leslie Gallimore, who we know has been closely tied with Seattle Reign since they came to town, closely tied with the U23 programs. I would imagine here's a player, even though we've actually never seen a UW player drafted into this league, someone who's probably more prepared for the pros than you would think, you know, coming off a program like that.
And just skill set wise, she's a lefty, she's fast, she's good on the ball. I mean, it's a reoccurring theme thus far, and she can slide into that outside left back position. She's not a big, strong physical presence. She's slight, in fact, but she's feisty. You can watch this girl, and she's going to battle you 50-50. She's going to get stuck in. She's fearless. So I think when it comes to qualities that you need to have to translate to an outside back, she's got the tools. Now it's a matter of whether she can develop that soccer sense and read the game when it's in front of the whole game's in front of her. She's used to basically having one or two defenders to take on, and that's it. Now she's got to read positioning. It's a big jump, but I think she's capable of it.
Now we've seen this is Vera Powell's first draft, you know, first time kind of being a part of something like this in professional soccer. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but now the pick is in.
With the 13th pick in the second round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue FC selects Casey Murphy from Rutgers University. Utah Royals, you are now on the clock.
Casey Murphy, a Rutgers goalkeeper going to play for a Rutgers alum. What do you think?
It's an interesting pick. It's more who knows? It's more just holding the rights to her, because there's been talk that she should go overseas. She might want to go overseas so she can maybe be that starting goalkeeper. They've got Kayleen Sheridan already, who performed very well for them as a rookie. This might be a move just to secure her rights if she opts to go overseas, so she can get playing time, because let's not forget, she is someone that plays for she's the starting goalkeeper for the 23. She's someone that's being groomed to potentially go to the national team. That's the upside of her. She's big and tall, 6 foot, has good range, good goalkeeper, but this might not be a play for the immediate.
Now her head coach at Rutgers, Michael Neal, called her one of the best young goalkeepers in the world. She's, as you said, has all those things that you want to see in a goalkeeper, not just the size, but she also verbally connects with her defenders really well. That's also invaluable when you're looking to draft somebody who will have that type of vision.
And I wouldn't even qualify it as one of the best young goalkeepers. I would say, you know, she could rate right up there with the keepers that are playing behind Ashlyn Harris and Alyssa Nair, you know, right now. But like Alice says, it could be a move for the future, knowing that she's considering Europe. But when you also look at the goalkeepers for Sky Blue, Kayleen Sheridan, rookie, came in last year, played 22 of 24 games. You know, had some rough games, but I think probably learned a lot from that. You know, and Caroline Casey, an okay backup, but to get someone like that challenging in there, I just think strengthens your whole defensive backbone.
You think that Casey, yes, there is talk she might go to Europe, but do you think if she stays, she will kind of push herself through to that starting role?
Oh, I think she absolutely can push for a starting position. I think Sheridan's a very good goalkeeper, but I think Casey Murphy, that would be a good battle to have, and it would actually propel 2 young goalkeepers to get better very quickly, because there would be that much competition. But I think she would be able to earn that nod easily.
And Murphy she had one more season of eligibility, but chose not to use it. So she's ready.
Yeah, I mean, she's more than ready. She's got great instincts. You know, she's 2-time Big Ten goalkeeper of the year. It's not an easy, you know, conference to, you know, get that type of accolades, but she had a 45 all-time career shutout leader with 45 shutouts. That's amazing.
Yeah, and look, collegiately, if you excel, that's great. It's great. It's wonderful. You know, you can tell your kids about it. But making that jump to the pro league is another ball game, and it's probably the biggest jump to make or the most difficult jump to make as an out-and-out player, and it's the decision making that fails goalkeepers a lot because the game is that much faster. The balls that are dropped in between are that much more precise. Do I go or do I stay? You know, there's all of these little moments in a game that can make or break a goalkeeper, and then that impacts their confidence. So you got to be ready if you're going to step in at the pro level. Know that you're going to make mistakes and be able to handle that you still have an opportunity to grow and become better and better. But I still think that is the toughest transition to make as a player and into the pro league.
Well, yeah, short-term memory sort of thing in terms of goalkeepers, but really, you know, when you talk about her getting used to that, do you think her international experience will kind of help her learning curve-wise get used to the pros, whereas another goalkeeper might be a little more in shock facing these attacking offenses?
Well, she's definitely seen more challenges and experienced soccer on different levels and different environments more than a player just coming out of college. I mean, like, you know, last year playing the 2016 Under-20 Women's World Cup in Papua New Guinea. So having, like, learning to deal with foreign travel, long trips, long camps, that's an invaluable experience.
But also the pace of the game is that much better at the international games. Those decisions will come easier.
With the 14th pick in the second round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, Utah Royals FC selects Taylor Eisen from Brigham Young University. Chicago Red Stars, you are now on the clock.
So with their first pick ever, Utah Royals FC, they select Taylor Eisen out of BYU, a pretty good senior defender coming out of them. What do you guys think?
Central defender who, you know, could obviously lots of defenders out there. Should be able to combine well with Becky Sauerbrunn. I love seeing more of the players from not the big name schools that you know that we think coming into the draft, but you know, I think of Ashley Hatch last year going, you know, number 2 in the draft and making a big impact her first year in the league. So I could see Eisen doing the same thing, especially when Utah is still a team that we don't have a really good sense for. We know the contracts that they picked up from Kansas City, but I would imagine with, you know, we've already seen the beginning of trades. I think we're just going to keep seeing more trades.
Yeah, and I remember when we were on our calls with Harvey, I mean, she spoke to her saying, look, she's also a local kid, and that helps in this process, being out of Brigham Young. But a player that has pace, good cover, good 1v1, you know, she benefited from being able to play those balls over the top to Ashley Hatch. So now the next level for her is, can she think the game? Because she's got the physical tools. Can she think the game? Can she lead the line in the back? You know, those are questions that, when it comes to a rookie center back, that, you know, go unanswered until you get him into preseason.
Well, we're going to check in with Jordan Angeli, who's down on the draft floor. Jordan.
I've got a fun guest, Christy Mewis. I saw her wandering around, and I wanted to talk to her. So you had an interesting year last year, to say the least. Do you feel like you landed in a spot in Houston that will help you grow and you can flourish there?
Yes, definitely. Obviously, it was a very hectic year for me, and I was kind of all over the place. But yeah, I mean, I'm super excited about Houston. I was only there obviously for a couple weeks, but it went well. I mean, we finished the year not how we obviously wanted to, but we're super excited with the new coach, Vera, and I think we have a really good squad right now, so I'm super excited to get back there and get started.
Yeah, lots of changes, especially head coach, assistant coach, but a lot of powerful, the way that you guys are going to play, I think, is going to be exciting and interesting for you, and some good, even people getting drafted today that'll benefit you guys.
Yeah, I mean, our draft picks look awesome. I think that we, you know, have a really good all-around team right now. And I mean, we're just really excited. Amber's up there doing a good job, like helping out and stuff. And yeah, I'm just really excited. And I was excited to be here for it because I didn't get to go my year. I didn't get to go. Okay, sorry.
Thanks, Christy. Here's our next pick.
Good morning. With the 15th pick in the second round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Emily Boyd, University of California, Berkeley. Go Bears!
Just in case you didn't know, she went to Berkeley.
Well, Emily Boyd, another goalkeeper taken off the board from Cal over there. She's really polished. This is somebody that was talked a lot about from Chicago. It's great to have her here. We'll get to hear from her momentarily, as she makes her way up there, selected 15th overall in the second round to Chicago Red Stars. Somebody who can really, challenge the status quo, if you will, in Chicago, and kind of be that somebody to look over your shoulder and kind of be, a little weary of, if you will. Gets a big hug there as she makes her way to the podium. We'll hear from Emily Boyd now.
Hi, and thank you, Mary, Cal alum. I'd like to thank the NWSL for this opportunity, and this program is so awesome for all of us college players to continue our careers. And I would like to thank the Red Stars for picking me. I'm so excited. And I would like to thank UC Berkeley and my coaches and all my teammates. And I'd like to thank my boyfriend Patrick and my family for everything they've done to help me get here. So thank you.
How about that? She thanks her boyfriend.
Yeah, get a shout out there.
He better be packing his bag to move with her. I think that was a little passive-aggressive move.
And I'm talking to you. Well, you got Emily Boyd. Rory Dame said he wanted to address a goalkeeper, get somebody in here young, energetic, somebody, as I said, that can kind of give Alyssa a little peek over her shoulder sort of thing. And when goalkeepers train, it's such an intimate training because it's just you and them. You're kind of looking each other right in the eye. How beneficial do you think this is going to be just to Chicago as a whole?
This is huge to the team. I mean, just like we were talking about, Kaylin Sheridan having competition, it's the same thing.
Well, Jordan is with her right now, so we'll get to hear from Emily Boyd herself.
Thanks, Marissa. Emily, you just had a moment because Mary Harvey, a Cal alum, got to present you with your draft pick. Was that a pretty cool experience for you?
Yeah, for sure. She actually spoke to us a few years ago. And just meeting her was really amazing. And so for her to give me my pick was like meant to be,
I love that. And you go to a Chicago Red Stars team who is looking for that keeper that can push Alyssa Nair. You're playing with Alyssa Nair now, a player that you probably looked up to for a long time.
Yeah, I have looked up to her for a long time, so I'm really excited.
All right, well, congratulations. I love the smile on your face. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Marissa.
That's pretty great. Somebody that she's looked up to, and now it's like, hey, now we're teammates. We get to play together. That's a pretty awesome thing for them. But what do you think about Emily?
That feeling when I'll never forget when I first roomed with Mia Hamm and played Mia Hamm.
Oh, wow.
Your in awe moment has to end very quickly because then you realize they don't care and you need to perform.
Yeah.
I mean, overall with Emily, it's just a matter of getting to that next level. She's been brought in with the 23, so she's getting that experience internationally, getting some looks with the best players in the country. But she's very good with her feet. So you think about the way Chicago played last year. They want to split their center backs. They want to play out of the back. Well, she has that capability and also has the shot-stopping ability.
All right, don't shoot the messenger with that. But Washington Spirit has now called a timeout. They're picking 16th. We've seen them kind of pick a lot, but let's go back to Emily Boyd.
Yeah, just a goalkeeper that's good with her feet, has shot-stopping capability. You can see she's a big, tall presence, so she's got that range. She's been doing better with getting off her line and reading those balls in, drop behind. Still, it's going to be about decision-making at that next level because that ball comes in quicker. The shots are much harder. You get a bum striking that ball at you, watch out, and you better put some stickum on those gloves.
Well, one of the things that really impressed me about Emily Boyd was reading that at the end of her sophomore year, she went to her coaches and said, what do I need to do to take it to the next level? And they said, eat differently, eat better, change your diet. And she did, and she got so into it. She started an Instagram account of like, here are my recipes and here are my food ideas. And now she has like over 1,000 followers, and her coaches have said it's like, now she's really poised to be an elite athlete. The difference between who she was as a freshman and sophomore and who she was physically as an athlete, junior and senior years, is huge.
And just not only just to see her change her body composition, and of course what that does, especially as a goalkeeper, to be quicker, have those quicker reflexes, but also the mentality and the maturity she kind of showed where, telling a college kid, like, don't eat pizza anymore, don't, like, only have 3 soft pretzels today sort of thing,
Was that your thing?
Yeah. carb addict, but you know, like to tell a college kid, a really young kid who's surrounded by that sort of food freedom in college, and you're an athlete, so you don't think about it all the time, but for her to get so disciplined and strict, that's got to also be a very appealing sort of component for a coach to look at and be like, hey, you tell her X, Y, and Z, and she's going to go do it.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, someone that is obviously driven to get to that next level and will take the required steps, but you reminded me of something about her when you're speaking about her, because she is that leader. She is a communicator. So you saw it in her confidence when she was on the podium, and I think that does come from when you start to take care of yourself physically, your demeanor can change, and she can be that person that can instruct a back line, and it doesn't fear stepping up and talking to players that are maybe 7 years your senior and organizing them and telling them, hey, you were a step out of line, and that's why we got beat. So she does bring that quality with her as well.
Now, is that something hard for a young goalkeeper to kind of transition into? Do you just kind of have to rip the Band-Aid off and show those veterans like up front that like, hey, like I'm here, like I see the field this way, you got to listen up?
Well, first of all, goalkeepers are a different breed, so I don't know that what I would process is the same way that he'll process something, but yeah, I think it's so individual, and certain goalkeepers will take some time to be more vocal, and there are goalkeepers that are playing the professional game right now that still need to be louder and more demanding of their back line. But she seems like someone, by all accounts, when you talk to her coach Neil at Cal Berkeley, when you talk to some of the U23s, she doesn't shy away from confrontation.
Well, that's important, right? Especially when you're fighting for a roster spot, essentially.
Well, and the keeper has to own the box, has to marshal the defense. You've got the best seat in the house. You've got eyes on everything, and if you're not telling...
That's a matter of perspective, the best seat in the house.
Well, that's how I convince myself that I enjoy playing keeper, but it's like I learned the game from spending so many years standing back there. I was like, wow, as opposed to when I started off playing forward, I'm like, this game doesn't make sense to me. And then standing back there, it's like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. See, different breed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that came up to her was, dedicated. She had 36 career shutouts. We talked about, transitioning. It could be a hard position to transition, but from what you saw on paper, from what you saw on the film, do you think she's somebody who can kind of ease into that transition a little quicker?
I think she's a steal for Chicago to get a player who's basically ready to go pro, to challenge their existing two keepers.
And she doesn't have the pressure of needing to step in right away.
Yes.
So that's a massive asset to any goalkeeper, unless they're hungry for that starting job, the playing time immediately, in which case they might consider going abroad.
A little comfort room to grow.
To learn.
Jordan's standing by with another interview. Jordan?
Thanks, Marissa. Everybody knows this person, Yael Averbush. So glad that you got to join us. Now, this is the 6th year of the league. What does it mean to you as a player who's experienced a couple leagues now, the longevity of this league in itself?
Yeah, so I think we all know the sustainability of NWSL is #1, and I personally am just so proud to see the league not only continuing to go into the 6th season, but also just how professional and awesome the draft looks, and seeing things improve, seeing international players joining our league, all the trades going on, and just the excitement surrounding it, I think says so much for the growth of the women's game.
I know, our draft didn't look like this. This is pretty amazing, huh?
This is an upgrade for sure. It looks awesome.
And one of the big things that you've been a part of is creating a players association. What does that mean to you to see that grow and become something in this league?
Yeah, I think it's really important that as players, we have a voice and we're part of the conversation. And like I've said all along, is that we want this to be a collaborative thing. We all have the same goal, whether it's the league itself, the team owners, coaches, staff, players. We're trying to grow this and make it work and make it awesome. So I think we're just in it to work together with everyone to make that happen.
Yeah, well, we'll see you a little bit later too. You're going to be another part of this draft. But thanks for spending a little time with us, Yael.
Of course, this is awesome. Such an exciting day.
Yeah. Marissa?
Thanks, Jordan. Well, we know, timeout clock has kind of run its course. So what are you guys thinking? We're thinking maybe another trade? What do you think's going on?
I'm thinking trade. I mean, that's what the timeouts have to be for, especially when we know that there's kind of been this pent up. We haven't seen a lot of trades in the off season, and now it's like for these coaches, if I want picks, I need to trade. It's like it's today. Preseason starts February 19th. That's barely a month away. I think there's a lot of player movement still to come.
Yeah, and Washington's, not one to be shy about making moves. As we've seen, they've been wheeling and dealing all day today. So maybe that's what we're waiting for.
Okay, with the 16th pick in the second round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit select Mallory Eubanks, Mississippi State University. Boston Breakers, you are now on the clock.
Okay, Mallory Eubanks making her way up through the crowd, kind of weaving in and out. She sat a little too far back, so we'll talk about her for a sec. She's 2017 SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year, second team All SEC, from Lexington, Kentucky. Went to Mississippi, and now she's headed to Washington, D.C., so quite a little journey she's made. But you know, she's a high quality passer, really excels in one-on-one situations.
Yeah, I mean, this is another, I think, big pick for Washington Spirit. I think she's a steal in this draft. She's someone that was brought in with the 23s with BJ Snow early last March. We'll talk about it more later.
I'd just like to say thanks to the NWSL for this opportunity, and thanks to the Washington Spirit for drafting me and another opportunity. And I'd just like to say thanks to my coaches and my family and my teammates and everyone who supported me throughout this journey. Thanks.
Well, short and simple and to the point, but you can tell she's just so excited to be here. You know, this wasn't a name that was thrown out too much when we were talking to coaches and stuff, but it's exciting to see her get an opportunity here.
It's one of the dark horses that Allie was talking about, and I think we're reaching that point in the draft where almost all of the names we thought would go have gone, not all of them, but now it's like, I think every pick is just going to be a surprise.
Yeah. You know, I think she's a big win for Washington. They're getting loaded right now. She does play in that wing position. She can be a 7, she can be an 11. But she also can be an outside back. Again, we're seeing a lot of these versatile attacking players that can transition to an outside back spot. She's someone that may have gone under the radar, wasn't mentioned enough because she was suffering from mono. When she went in March and played with the 23, she was really dominant. She started every match because she deserved that role, BJ said. And then they discovered she had mono. And then she kind of refell into that in her collegiate season. And she had also partially torn her MCL, so she wasn't playing to her full capabilities this past year. And I think that's why maybe she wasn't such a hot pick and she was able to fall that far, but she's someone to keep your eye on in this league because I absolutely believe she can make the roster and make an impact.
Well, when you think about Washington's roster and who they got, she's joining the likes of Andy Sullivan, Rebecca Quinn, Skyler Debris. It's just to even start with this roster, in addition to who they already have and who they've gotten so far. It's been really exciting, but now it's time.
Okay, with the 17th pick in the second round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Boston Breakers select Elizabeth Wenger, Georgetown University. Congratulations. Chicago Red Stars, you are now on the clock.
Liz Wenger coming out of Georgetown University, a pretty strong defender there, but you know, Big East Defender of the Year in the Big East. But right now, Jordan is standing by with Mallory Eubank.
Mallory and I just had a moment because we're both 16th picks in the draft. Yeah. So you're a little bit younger than me though, Mallory, and you just had your moment. Talk to me. You're from Kentucky. You played at Mississippi State, but now you get to live out your dreams. Is this a pretty cool experience?
Yeah, it's an awesome experience. It's just a dream come true to be able to play professionally, and just, you know, growing up just playing watching all these players and these teams, and then being able to go out there and be on a team with some of these players is just play against them is just awesome. It's exciting.
And I talked to your coach just a second ago asking, what do you like about Mallory? And he said versatility.
Yeah.
And I think that, how do you look at that going into your first NWSL preseason? And are you excited? You feel like you can fit in a lot of different spots?
Yeah, I'm excited. I've always been a player who, like, I go back and forth. I like to play forward. I like to play midfield. And, you know, occasionally I've gone to the outside back position, and I like all three, and just changing it up is fun. And so I'm excited that I could have an opportunity at, like, anywhere on the field or something, you know?
You got to love that attitude.
Yeah.
Love the attitude. Well, congratulations, Mallory.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Jordan. Well, like you pretty much called that. She can play outside back. She said it right there. So.
Well, I do my research. Were you doubting me?
I don't doubt that at all, that you do your
But
research.
how about that attitude? So rad, because you know these coaches call the players, and they want to get a sense for who they are. I mean, that was one of the #1 things you hear on the call with the coaches is, what kind of person are they? What kind of character do they have? What kind of locker room will they bring, or what kind of personality will they bring to our locker room? And you can just see in right there that, she wants to play, but she's open, and that's very appealing to a coach. It says, I can craft you into what I need.
Now, in the later rounds, do you think that becomes even more appealing because you don't know exactly what your plan is going to be for these kids, so to hear them be so open-minded?
That's huge. Versatility is always key in NWSL. And this could be a factor, I'm not sure how much, but she's from a soccer family. Her brother was the #1 overall pick in the MLS draft in 2012. So she comes from a family that's already, highly competitive. And we've heard the stories all the years of all the, female players that have succeeded because they've been beaten up on by their older brothers. That's probably why she's a defender. So I think she's got what it takes, especially when you think. Go to the podium.
All right, with the 18th pick in the second round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Indigo Gibson from the University of California, Berkeley. Chicago Red Stars, you're now on the clock.
Indigo Gibson, somebody that we thought we might hear maybe a little earlier, but also a great pick. 2017 Pac-12 First Team All-Conference, 2017 Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week back in September, and she's the only defender and player to play every minute of the season for Cal. So a great pickup there for Chicago, kind of solidifying their defense for them. She's from California. She's going to be heading out to the Midwest, so she's get used to the winters there a little bit. But what do you think of her real quick before she takes the stage?
I think she's a great center back. Will compete, will push the back line, those two center backs that they already have.
I just want to thank the NWSL for putting on this amazing event, and thank you to the Chicago Red Stars for drafting me. Thank you to my coaches at Cal. You guys have been so amazing and so good to me over the years, and to my parents who have supported me endlessly. And yeah, I'm really excited. So, go Bears!
You can hear a little nervousness in her voice, a little, but pretty cool.
Awesome. And one of those players talked to Neil, talked to John Lips. It's another one of their coaches at Cal, and they all said she's eager to learn. She really started to transition her game. She started as an outside back, actually, at Cal, transitioned to that center back position. And one of the things she needed, BJ Snow had told her, to get to that next level with the 23s, is her ability to read the line, when to step it, when to drop it, and how to organize it. And so she's been watching a ton of film, and whether it be EPL games on the weekends or going over their games towards the end of the season when maybe they weren't so successful. So she's trying to do the right things to have the soccer IQ to lead that back line, but she has the physical tools, and that's what we keep seeing with all these picks, is they have the physical tools. She's fast, she can cover in behind, she's good 1v1, did a lot of work on her footwork. That's kind of a lost art right now with backs, is their footwork to stay in good position when they're going 1v1. She's been working on that. So I think she's putting in the time, and you can see that professional attitude that you're going to need in order to potentially push those two center backs at Chicago.
And when you look at Berkeley having not the best offense this year, they still made the NCAA tournament. They had only allowed 11 goals. And why? It's you've got someone like Indigo Gibson and playing defense, obviously Emily Boyd in goal as well, but it's like that, old adage of defense winning championships.
Yeah, I mean, she's just somebody, as you said, builds out of the back really well. And it's also nice to hear that she's just not resting on her athleticism. She's wanting to learn a little bit more. She recognizes, hey, maybe I don't see the field as well as I could, or, I need to know positional things. So it's great to hear, as a coach that, like, hey, this girl really wants to improve and get better and continue to grow. And in Chicago, I think it might be a good atmosphere for her to do that.
With the 19th pick in the second round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Brianna Visali from Pepperdine University. North Carolina Courage, you're now on the clock.
All right, so Chicago going back-to-back with 18 and 19 picks. Brianna Visali from Pepperdine, WCC Player of the Year. She set the Pepperdine single-season records for game-winning goals with 6. It's obviously, a nice trait to have. Somebody when the pressure's on, they can finish the game out for you. She's heading up to the podium right now to say a couple words, but you know, a great pickup too, a forward for Chicago Fire.
I just want to say thank you to the NWSL for putting this all together, and especially to the Red Stars as they've taken a chance on me. And I also want to thank my family and all my coaches along the way that's invested time in me and effort. It wouldn't be possible without you guys believing in me, and let's go Red Stars.
Well, you know, we're told what she lacks in size, she makes up in technical abilities, because she's only 5'2", but you can see she's a force on the field.
Well, my favorite description of her was buzzing pest that you can't lose track of. That she's just, you know, one of those dynamic attacking mids. And, you know, she ruled the midfield for Pepperdine, and I love the idea of her going to join the Red Stars.
I think, first of all, I think she's a fantastic player. There's you look at some of her highlight goals that she scored, and she connects well on the ball. She shoots from outside, so she's always looking to step up. But what I like about this for Chicago is that I think they've lacked a dynamic playmaker type. Their center mids are all very good. I think that's why Ertz actually was so poignant for them last year, because she could break lines. I think Vasali brings that quality and changes things up between DiBernardo and Colaprico, who are great players, but kind of just connectors. Vasali is going to break lines, set people up, look for her own shot, and I think it's a good pick for Chicago.
Well, let's check back in closer to that draft room floor with Jordan Angeli. Jordan?
Thanks, Marissa. Indigo Gibson, we just spoke about this a moment ago, but you're sitting over there and you hear your name gets called.
Yep.
What is the feeling that happened?
It's definitely butterflies. I would say I've been waiting for this moment my whole life, so it's definitely just like, wow, you're sitting there and you're just waiting, but it's exciting. It's an awesome experience, so I'm excited.
And now you go to a Chicago Red Stars team who has some pretty impressive forwards, and you get to go with your Cal teammate, Emily Boyd, but you get to day in and day out play against Sofia Huerta and Kristen Press. How do you feel like that's going to help you improve your game?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think being with national team players is something that'll help me grow and into the future, and hopefully be in with the national team one day. So obviously I'll see what it takes to have to get in there and stuff. So I'm excited. It'll be awesome to play with amazing players. So I'm excited.
I love this. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Go Bears.
Go Bears. Go Red Stars now, too. Go Red Stars now.
Thanks, Jordan. Well, that was Indigo Gibson, the number 18 overall pick for Chicago Red Stars. Now they also just picked Brianna Vasali as well at 19. Allie, you're smiling ear to ear talking about this girl.
Yeah, because there's just such a cool story about Vasali. I can't get to it yet, though.
With the 20th pick in the second round of the NWSL College Draft, the North Carolina Courage select Rebecca Rasmussen from the University of Colorado Boulder. We'll take a brief 2-minute break before we begin round 3.
Okay, well, North Carolina Courage kind of rounding out the second round there with a pick of Rebecca Rasmussen. Guys, what do you think of North Carolina's pick there?
And someone that just registered for the draft, by the way. She wasn't in. By the way, you shouldn't be able to allowed to register for the draft the night before the draft. I'm just saying, get it done earlier, girls.
That's a bugaboo of yours, I can tell.
It is, definitely. But a crafty playmaker type, so I think that's a good pick. They wanted someone in the center and midfield, an attacking center and mid that can help out Mewis, that can help out McCall in there. So I think she brings that quality. Again, these are big ifs if they can break into the roster, if they can break into the first team. But she's one of those crafty center mids, shifty.
And I know Jordan's standing by with another interview, so let's see who she's got now. Jordan, who's with you right now?
Yeah, we got a little WCC rivalry here, Pepperdine, Santa Clara, but we're gonna accept this. We're gonna put it aside right now. And Bree, you just get drafted. You go to Chicago. You had some hugs with these players. Is it cool that you get to experience this with some of your U23 national team teammates?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the first thoughts was I get to be friends now and like teammates and live with them hopefully as roommates with people that I already know and like already am super fond of and I really clicked with. So it was kind of amazing to have that all kind of fall in place. Yeah.
And you have another Broncos friend Danny Weatherholt. You've been training with her. How do you think that's going to help you prepare to go to preseason?
Yeah, I think just working on skills and technical ability to move the ball quickly and just making sure you're sharp with the details is something that she's taught me, and I think it's like been awesome to train with her and some of the other NWSL players. So it's just a smaller group, but yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, congratulations. Enjoy the day.
Thank you.
All right, guys, back to you.
Thanks, Jordan. Allie, you can finish your thought now. So rudely interrupted by that last pick.
So rudely. So Vasali was at U23 camps. Camp ends. She goes home. She flies up. She lives in my Bay Area, San Jose, where I grew up. And she gets a call from Jill or BJ Snow, the U23 coach, saying, hey, they need you in camp for the women. They need extra players. She's like, well, I flew up to Northern Cal. I can't, training's at 4. He's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. There'll be another time. She calls him back 5 minutes later. I'm on my way to the airport. I'm on a plane. I'll be landing, and I'll be able to make training. I'll be there at 3:45. And after that, they called her back again and again, and she's been in a couple training sessions, at least 3 at this point, or at that point.
Yeah, an opportunity like that, you got to go.
Well, what does that tell you about the kid?
Yeah,
about
like
the girl,
she literally, she literally made it happen to get her butt to the airport and get on that plane.
Yeah, I'll just buy whatever I need when I get there. Right?
Yeah,
I bought a
I'll
ticket.
figure it out.
I'm on a plane. Yeah, I'm paying. I'm buying my own ticket.
Could you imagine getting that phone call, coming home, and just being like, "What?" That was
and good for her to say, "I can't let this pass."
Yeah.
You don't know what that call's coming again.
And she decided to stay in the area and said, "Listen, whenever you need me to fill in for numbers, I'm here. I'll be here all week."
Wow. That's smart though, because if you don't grab that opportunity, somebody else might. You don't know who might be closer geographically. So for her to grab onto that, invaluable experience for her, and something that she can now transition into Chicago. And this second round, we saw a lot of good picks. 2 goalkeepers selected in this round. A couple of college teammates going together. So let's take a quick recap on what happened in this second round. Skyler Debris going in 11th overall, first in the second round, and you can see Kimberly Keever, Casey Murphy, Taylor Ism, Emily Boyd. Guys, I know you guys must have a little bit of favorites playing right now in the second round, but Jen, who are your favorites in terms of what you think they can bring to their team?
Well, I'm so glad to finally see Inigo Gibson and Bri Vasali get off the board and go to places that I think will be really exciting to watch them play. And interesting to see the 2 keepers go as high as they did. Not that they are not awesome picks to get, but that generally you don't need to use an earlier pick on a keeper. Casey Murphy likely could have been a first-round pick if it was absolutely known that she wanted to stay in the U.S. And you don't see a first-round keeper pick very, very often. I sense,
and to follow up on that Catalina Perez hasn't gone, and she was arguably maybe one of the better keepers in the draft, but she did tear her ACL about 6 weeks ago, so maybe that's what's holding her back, but she's the one that I would have anticipated to go sooner.
Well, one of the women who's been selected in either the first or second round might be next year's Rookie of the Year, but let's take a quick look at 2017's Rookie of the Year, Ashley Hatch.
My rookie season has been amazing.
Williams looking for Hatch, nice touch, and the goal!
She had a fantastic season, and not just the goals, but the improvement from day one until now, and she's improved, she's got better, and she's really, really developed nicely, man, and I think she's going to develop into a really top pro.
Oh, it falls to the feet of Hatch!
She's contributed to our season, and some of those games we don't win without her, so.
The only way that she can go right now in her career is up, and I see a huge future for Ashley Hatch.
Number 6 on the season for Hatch.
Tidbits of advice I would give for rookies is just, come in and just work hard. And if you come in and work hard and give it all your best, you'll have no regrets.
All right, we're checking back in at the Philadelphia Convention Center. Just finished up the second round of the 2018 NWSL Draft. We just saw a nice little feature on 2017 Rookie of the Year, Ashley Hatch. She, but she's no longer, with the team that drafted her, and she's now going to be part of Washington Spirit.
Well, I was surprised last year at the draft that she was taken second because North Carolina, we were thinking, you know, which had been the New York Flash, they had such an amazing offense. We're like, they're not going to pick a forward. They pick a forward. She ends up contributing so much her freshman year, rookie year.
All right, we're going to check back in with the podium on the main stage.
I'm pleased to announce, joining us to announce the draft selections for the third round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, Yael Averbush, current NWSL player and player representative for the NWSL Players Association. Lydia Walkie, General Counsel to U.S. Soccer Federation. And Danielle Slayton, former women's national team player and silver medalist at the Olympics. Washington Spirit, you are now on the clock.
All right, so once again, Washington Spirit. Are we ever going to get sick and tired of hearing this? But they're really building something special down there. As we just said, Ashley Hatch is joining them down there, and they got
they got Taylor Smith out of that trade, giving up the rights to Crystal Dunn. These amazing picks they've got already. Mallory Pugh, who joined them late in the season, had some minor injuries, but as a 19-year-old, you know, contributed a lot. There's so much there. I feel like their season was really shortchanged last year by just the largest group of injuries we've seen for one NWSL team. So to build up this pool, like I feel like this is Boston's draft last year when I think they had like 4 first-round picks, or Western New York Flash in 2015. And sometimes you don't see the payoff that year. Like Western New York Flash had this crazy draft 2015, and it really popped 2016. I don't think we're going to have to wait that long for this pool when you pulled in. You had the number 1, Andy Sullivan, and you got the number 3. And the pieces that you already had in place. So Washington Spirit 2018 is going to be fascinating to watch.
And it's just interesting, too, because so often a team can kind of wash off an unsuccessful year and say, oh, it was because of X, Y, and Z, and not address the issues that still exist, even though, yes, injuries did come up. So for them to kind of go in this headstrong and say, listen, like we're almost kind of blowing this thing up, and getting ready for a whole new team is really exciting to watch. It's going to be exciting this whole season. Jordan Angeli is standing by with another interview. Jordan?
Actually not interviewing. I just interviewed Paul Riley, and I was asking him, why Becca Rasmussen? I know her very well. She's from Colorado, just down the way from me. I've watched her play at CU a lot. And he said she just fits our style. She's feisty. She can get out of tackles, but she's versatile. She gives them some width that they don't have currently. So Coach Paul Riley excited that for the 20th pick, he got a player like Becca Rasmussen.
Jordan, that's such great insight for us, too, because, you know, we'd love to pick the coach's brains right now. I know I'm dying to grab somebody and bring him up here and explain all these things, but to, you know, have Jordan down there, such an invaluable asset right now. But to hear that, too, about Becca Rasmussen and what he thinks can bring, it's nice to kind of see the coach's picture, and it's not just a name that they're throwing out, but he has a plan.
Well, especially when, you know, we talk to all these coaches beforehand, and they don't always want to tip their hands. They don't want to let us know. They'll talk about players that they probably won't draft. You know, so it's so satisfying to see who they do end up drafting and hear the specifics from them of what they think this player will contribute. And what I love about listening to Paul Riley talk about players is that, you know, you can tell that the intensity, the passion of his coaching. I love that with the trade to the Spirit, he said about Ashley Hatch, he's like, she needs more playing time, and they can give it to her.
With the 21st pick in the third round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit select Brittany Basinger from Penn State University. Boston Breakers, you are now on the clock.
All right, Brittany Basinger from Penn State, another Penn State Nittany Lion off the taper now. Defender coming out strong, 2017 co-captain, and she was on the 2014 CONCACAF Women's U20 team. Both of you guys are smiling. I think you're both kind of happy with this selection.
Oh, well, no, I'm more stunned that, again, Washington Spirit is just like, they've become the Chicago Red Stars of the draft. They're just picking them up left and right. I mean, to be able to get a player that has youth international experience, someone who's captained a team that has won the NCAA championship, to bring in that experience as a rookie is you just and to get that at the 21st pick.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about, in this league, you want your outside backs to really push up the flanks, cover a lot of space on the side. She does that. She does that at the collegiate level. And for her to kind of already have those skills in place of, that's kind of almost her natural instinct and way to play, that's exciting too. Allie, I know you kind of let out a big hurrah when she got picked.
I don't know why. I love this kid.
You love this kid, yeah, and we can see how this Washington team is kind of shaping up a little bit. But she also gets involved on the attack, Jen, and that's something invaluable as well.
Look, I think Basinger has, first of all, she can play left back, she can play right back, she can play center back, so she can play across that back line. So that's so important. Versatility there. Where can she slot in? But I think that she is really good playing out of the back. That's where I liked her. I liked her decision making. I liked her ability to thread that needle. We talk about the next evolution of backs. It's the ability to play make. It's the ability to have the vision and the technical to slot that ball through. I think she's got it.
With the 22nd pick in the third round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Boston Breakers select Ashton Miller from Duke University. Orlando Pride, you are now on the clock.
Ashton Miller coming out of Duke, a midfielder from Michigan. We hear that she's tough, tenacious, very clean on the ball. Oddly enough, she was actually a really accomplished figure skater at a very young age. Kind of had to give that up to focus more so on soccer, but she said she's pulled a lot of that, the sense of being accountable for yourself, because in figure skating it is a solo sport, and she's kind of brought that accountability for herself onto the soccer field. Guys, what do you think about this addition to the Boston Breakers and Ashton Miller?
Well, that discipline, if she's been a figure skater, that discipline and work ethic, that's a great base to start with. And again, here's a player coming out of one of the top teams in the country that, has made the NCAA Final Four so many times in the last few years, that experience where that's a longer season. I think that's a much stronger addition.
And with Miller, you get a ball winner, you get a six, you get a tough player in there. It's funny that she was a figure skater because when I'm thinking of Ashton Miller, I'm not thinking of just this grace. I'm thinking of grit, and I think that's what you're going to get out of her. She's going to sit in there, she's going to clog up the middle, she's going to shield that back line, so she's going to offer Boston that skill set. Again, these are all ifs if they can crack into that roster, and then the starting lineup. That's yet to be determined, but even her coach Robbie Miller at Duke, massive fan of her, just said, look, she can play an 8, but you need someone like her to win. You need someone like her on your team, on your roster to win. She's just got that mentality and will lead by example.
That's so important too, and to have a strong-willed rookie kind of thrown into the mix to make sure that she kind of has that strong sense of self, if you will, or confidence within herself. You can kind of not worry maybe about them as much in terms of getting used to playing professional. But the next pick is in for Orlando Pride.
With the 23rd pick in the third round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Orlando Pride select Nadia Gomez from Brigham Young University. Chicago Red Stars, you're now on the clock.
Nadia Gomez out of BYU is making her way up to the stage right now. This is Orlando Pride's first pick of the whole entire draft. They had to wait all the way to the third round, but I think we're all kind of pretty pleased with the selection they've just made, and we'll get to hear from Nadia momentarily. But for them to kind of only get a third round pick, they must have seen something special in her.
Thank you so much for the NWSL for this great event, and thank you Orlando Pride. Also, I'm really excited to start a new journey, and I just want to thank my parents and teammates and coaches, and also my boyfriend for all their support, and thank you.
All right, Nadia Gomez, a forward heading to Orlando Pride. Allie, what do you think?
I think she's another one of those dark horses in this draft. She's a lefty, shocker, a flyer that's a lefty, so she can be converted, but she's one of those players that I'm not sure about the mentality yet, but she's got the physical tools. She's good on the ball. You can see it here. She pops the ball over to a defender's heads, catches it on the other side, can slalom through. She actually is cap tied to Portugal. Her family came here from Portugal before she was able to get her papers so she could to play for the U.S. team. She did get the call up for Portuguese national team, took that opportunity. So she is cap tied for Portugal, unfortunately for the U.S., because I think this is someone that it would have been of interest.
Well, and just to add to Orlando Pride and what they already have going down there, how does she kind of fit into maybe their master plan, if you will?
Well, it's funny, when I was making the list of players in and out for each team, Orlando was in, none, out, none. It was all the same.
Yeah.
And she's a player with that international experience. I think brings a lot to a team at that pick, but she doesn't take an international spot. So she is an American now, so she's not taking an international spot. So that's a huge pick. Last year, the draft, Orlando, their first pick was about this late, and Danica Evans ended up performing, starting. She scored their first goal of the season.
It must also be a little more tough for these teams to kind of sit back and wait all the way through the third round and kind of just see, okay, who's going to be here. So do you think this was just, really good scouting on their part to make sure that they could know what the level of caliber talent that they could get at the third round?
I think you put on your board, here's your wishes, and then you take the best player. No, I'm serious. And then you cross them off, and then you take your best player available at that point. So you do kind of rank and file, a lot of the options out there, and then you gauge, obviously, where can this player play and how will they come into our team. But I think this is an interesting pick because I would have thought they would go with more of a center back type. Maybe their center backs that they wanted were off the board, But this makes me think she might be converted to an outside back.
With the 24th pick in the third round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Megan Buckingham from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. In addition, a trade has been approved between Seattle Reign FC and the Utah Royals. Seattle Reign FC have acquired Yael Averbush and the 2018 25th overall pick. In exchange, the Utah Royals have acquired Diana Matheson. Seattle Reign FC, you are now on the clock.
Okay, so more than one announcement in that pick. So let's soak that all in. Megan Buckingham is going right now. Just picked, off the board. So
going to Chicago.
What do you guys think of Megan and what she can bring?
Well, Anson Dorrance talked about how she could be a game changer, but she was still struggling with consistency going into her senior year. So she's got something, she's got potential, and maybe that's something that, Rory Dames is counting on. Here's a player I can develop.
And she was an outside back, outside mid, converted from a forward. Again, they like these versatile players because they just don't know. You just don't know how this player is going to measure up and what role when they get to your team. But what I did like about Buckingham is that she puts that defensive work in. She will work back. And so often in the pro game, you need that player that is going to play both sides of the ball because very few players in this league are good enough to take plays off.
Well, we're going to throw down to Jordan, who's standing by right now. Jordan, what do you have?
I have Nadia Gomes, and she grew up in Portugal, you guys. And I just asked her, didn't have a women's team when she was growing up. What does it mean for you to be able to play here in the U.S. for a women's professional team?
It means a lot. The women's team here is huge and bigger than Portugal. But yeah, when I was growing up there, we didn't have a women's soccer team in my city. So I was always watching soccer on TV and going outside and playing with my friends. But yeah, I'm really excited that I got picked here.
Yeah, you can tell the smile is huge. And I have heard from people in WCC that you were the best attacker in that conference. Now you're going to play with some of the best attackers in the world, Alex Morgan, Marta. Can you wrap your head around that?
I've always looked up to them. But no, I'm really excited to play with them and learn with them. I think this is huge, and yeah, I'm really excited.
Well, congrats, Nadia.
Thank you.
Well, awesome. What a great interview, right?
Great stuff. Thank you, Jordan. Let's go back to also that announcement we heard at the podium, the trade that's happening. So this was Utah Royals pick. It's now Seattle Reigns pick, and they also acquired Yael Averbush. To this dismay of maybe some fans in the crowd. What do you guys think about that movement? And now Diana Matheson is part of the Utah Royals.
You know, I think both make sense. I think Yael going back with Blanco, it seems like those two have really good chemistry. They both have a lot of respect for each other, so I understand that. Center back obviously helps shore things up there. And then I think even the move with Diana Matheson coming to the Utah Royals is a good move for them, because I think last year, Kansas City, the now kind of, Utah Royals team, they needed one of those attacking mid type players.
Seattle has called a timeout.
This crowd's not a fan of the timeout here, apparently.
If I could boo, I would too. No timeouts. I think Diana Matheson can bring kind of that different quality to the Utah Royals that group of players and who they were together with in Kansas City was lacking last year.
And you're also reuniting her with a Canadian teammate, Desiree Scott, who recently committed to Utah for the season. Matheson didn't play in the 2017 season. She was recovering from an ACL tear. I think that was like late 2016. But she's been such a huge piece of the Canadian women's national team for a long time. I remember seeing her as a starter in the 2003 Women's World Cup.
I used to play against her.
You probably remember that, And so I think she's also a valuable addition to the locker room, especially a first-year club. Granted, they inherited a roster, but in many ways it's a first-year club. You need some players like that, much like Becky Sauerbrunn too, to kind of set the tone in the locker room, set a standard, develop a club identity.
Well, sure, yeah, because even though, yes, there is some sort of roster in place and a little bit of structure, you still have to build your own sense of who you are, because you don't want it to seem like, oh, they just picked up this team from Kansas City and plopped them in Utah. And especially someone like Laura Harvey, who has, a very strong point of view,
right.
She's going to want to build something that's very much her own out there.
I think you hit the nail on the head with Harvey. I mean, she's got a vision of what she wants to see on the field, and I think she's more than skilled in implementing that with the group of players. Everyone that plays for her loves her. Everyone worships her and thinks that she is one of the smartest coaches they have ever played for. She teaches a lot. So the identity piece will evolve naturally. I think she's going to bring that on day one, and I think the players are going to adapt and really thrive under it. So, again, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know where Matheson falls in line, but when you look at that group of players last year, I think one of the things they missed was some of those attacking midfield pieces to break lines. I know you had Shea Groom, but she's gone. And she's not that type of connector that still can break lines, right? She's someone that's going to go. Matheson is someone that's going to bring others into play.
Well, let's take a little look, because I know we're talking a lot, but let's kind of put it into perspective and what it actually is going to look like. So here is the trade. So Seattle receives the 25th pick, and as we said, Yael Averbush, and Utah received Diana Matheson. So with that 25th pick, that is what we're waiting now. They just called a timeout, so we're still kind of waiting for them to figure out exactly, Seattle, what they want to do, given, who they decide to go with, early on, and what they might be looking for. What do you think, is on their radar, Jen?
Well, I'm sure that Blatko is excited to get a higher pick than he originally had, because when we talked to him, he's such a draft junkie. He was so proud showing off his draft board after the draft last year. And, they had only one pick, pretty low pick. You can tell he inherited Laura Harvey's one pick, and, she doesn't always draft a lot. So this is huge for them. And not only does he get reunited with Yael Averbush, but getting a higher pick, and I'm sure he's got someone in mind.
Yeah, because when we talked to him, he kind of was like, listen, guys, like, as you said, it's kind of like best available. Like, I'm kind of knocking off my list.
I've got my list. I'm just crossing it out.
So now he gets to jump the ladder a little bit on this said list.
And I remember talking to him. Some of his wish lists are gone. Haley Hansen was one of them. Nadia Gomez was another. He said, if she's available, I'm going to draft her. So they're not out there.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see who he gravitates towards. But he is one of the things that fascinated me about him and his mindset when he approached the draft was, look, when when it comes to the players that I want to pick, if they have one thing that stands out about them, one skill set that I think I'm going to need at some point in the season, not just every game, not in training, if there's one thing they do well that I'm going to need at some point, I will draft them.
And that's such an interesting take to hear, because we don't often hear that, like, oh, I want to see that she does this, this, and this really, really well. And he was kind of had that attitude, like, yeah, like, okay, like she might not be able to do these 8 things, but she can do this one thing really, really well. It's so interesting. The pick is finally in, so let's check in and see what he actually does with this pick.
With the 25th pick in the 3rd round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Seattle Reign select Allison Huron from Wake Forest University. Washington Spirit, you are now on the clock.
All right, Allison Huron selected to Seattle Reign at the 25th pick overall out of Wake Forest. Midfielder, guys, what do you think this Wake Forest product, another one coming off the board?
Well, what we know about Allie Huron, you know, tall, captain, team leader in minutes, so obviously someone that's, you know, provides a lot from the back. I want to know what the one thing she has that Vlatko was looking for.
Yeah, well, she's a center back. Something they can use out of her. I mean, I think one of the things that stood out when I was talked to a bunch of different people was that she rarely gets beat. She rarely loses the ball. Rory Dame said she's actually similar to Katie Naughton in that regard. So she's just a steady center back. If he wants that composure at the back line, someone that can play out, someone that he knows he can count on that's reliable, well, maybe there's someone that he can craft and develop and get ready for the pro level.
Yeah, he said he was trying to look to fill defensive, midfield, and attacking roles.
Yeah,
so.
one of each.
Yeah, so.
I thought maybe he got his defender when he got Yael.
Yeah.
But hey, why not get some more assurance and someone that, again, you can develop under a Yael's tutelage. Yael, someone converted from a center mid to that center back position, has a lot to offer some of these rookies coming in.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be so reassuring for the coach to know now, especially Vlatko, knowing that he has somebody like Yael who he can trust, he has a rapport with, that he knows whoever I bring in terms of new players, I kind of got somebody to kind of put on them as a mentor almost.
And don't forget Lauren Barnes. You know, she's kind of been their main, their defensive mainstay. She's one of the few players who's been with the same NWSL team every year. You know, so over 100 appearances for Seattle. So that's you know, a great leader that can mold a young center back like this.
Yeah, he said they just were doing their homework, wanted to just pick somebody who could eventually help the team, which is pretty a blanket statement, you know, when you think about it heading into the draft. But that's the thing, and he said, you know, you never know. It's originally they were going to select in the 4th round, and you could tell he was feeling kind of like, well, you know, you never know what you're going to get, but it's right, you know, this person can really, under the right circumstances or in the right team atmosphere, they can thrive. Do you think maybe, you know, Allison can thrive in the professional league?
I would trust any of Vlatko's picks, because the 40th pick that I mentioned earlier, that was a Vlatko Ananovsky pick. He's had a lot of 4th rounders, so it's like, so to get someone like this at this point, I would definitely trust that.
And being a Wake Forest kid playing in the ACC, you know, you hear a lot of coaches say if they're playing in the Pac-12, if they're playing in the ACC, they're going to be exposed, right? It's the toughest, some of the toughest conferences in the nation, and so if they can come out of that, there's a lot of quality there.
Well, for sure, yeah, because does it not necessarily transfer directly over, but to have that exposure of some of the top talent, you know, and then it's kind of takes the edge off, I guess.
Well, facing a Nadia Gomez versus Nadia Gomez is obviously over in the WCC, but if you're facing a player like that versus an Alex Morgan, maybe there's going to be a wake-up call in a transition, but certainly, I mean, you're going to be used to being uncomfortable, and that's part of what becoming a pro is about. It's when you're uncomfortable, how do you rebound? How do you make your own?
With the 26th pick in the 3rd round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit select Maddie Hooster from Wake Forest University. Chicago Red Stars, you are now on the clock.
So Wake Forest representing pretty well in this draft. Maddie Huster, midfielder coming out of hometown Cincinnati, Ohio. She had 10 goals, 8 assists this past year. She runs really well, has a lot of great energy. She has a sister, Tori, who plays for the Washington Spirit, so that's kind of nice.
You heard the Spirit Squadron, their reaction to that.
Yeah, so I mean, we talk about, you know, teammates who get to play together, but what about sisters? That's got to be a really great experience for both of them.
Well, come on, they love the Husters in Washington, and
she's a known entity.
Yeah, exactly. And you talk about quality of character, and those things matter. You know what you're getting in Huster Sister, but I think she's a special player. I mean, I know she's been brought in with the 23s. I just think she's got a lot of intangibles. I like how shifty she is. When you watch her play, she's very difficult to get the ball up, much like her sister. You know, they're not. I actually think Maddie might be more flashy than Tori, in fact. I just think it's another one that can develop into a strong pick. But more mids. Washington, more mids.
Well, let's take a quick look at round 3, how it's shaping up already. We just had the sixth pick in round 3 selected. So we have Brittany Basinger, Ashton Miller, Nadia Gomez, Megan Buckingham, Allison Horan, and now Maddie Huster off the board now. We're kind of nearing the end of everything. So how would you assess round 3 already, Jen?
Well, I'd be careful about saying we're nearing the end of everything because I think you've just caused about three timeouts with that statement.
Knock on wood.
Well, I think the players that I was worried about not getting picked off the board have been taken. You know, like in the second round with Gibson and Vizali, Basinger. I mean, great pick to start that. And now, I feel like there's so many good players left, but I don't want to pretend that I have any clue who each coach is going to take.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and then I look at what Washington Spirit has amassed. And if I'm one of their current players, I think I need to go double my workouts.
Yeah,
yeah, right.
Yeah, February 19th is preseason. It's it's starting like 3 weeks earlier than normal. I need to get going.
Well, the next pick is in, so let's check in with the podium.
With the 27th pick in the 3rd round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Zoe Goralski from UCLA.
Zoe Goralski, the defender out of UCLA, she finished her career having played in 82 consecutive games. Pretty impressive stuff coming out of this defender. She only missed 2 games her entire career, making her way up to the front stage. So for Chicago, a solid defender to add to the arsenal.
And someone who played for the Red Star Reserves. Rory said her sister has also played for him, so he's very familiar with the family. I know we're going to get to hear her speak and say thank you and how much she's going to love going to Chicago.
Hi, everyone. This is pretty cool. I'd like to thank the NWSL for this opportunity, of course, the Chicago Red Stars for drafting me and allowing me to play soccer in my hometown. I'd like to thank all my past coaches and teammates. I wouldn't be here without you guys, especially all my coaches at UCLA. I don't know where you guys are. Hi, guys. And finally, I'd like to thank my family for supporting me throughout this whole process. Thanks.
Really exciting for her, and we talked about, in later rounds how coaches tend to draft local kids because it kind of makes the transition a little easier. Do you think maybe this is part of the reason why they went with Zoe, Jen?
That's definitely one of the reasons, and we've seen historically Rory Dames does like to draft locals. It gives you a bigger pool for that preseason where you want the players that maybe they don't make that initial roster, but you might need them to fill in later or just be a practice player during the season. If they're in their hometown, they're more likely to stay around. They're established. They're not in a strange place. The adjustments easier. But I think with someone like Goralski, getting a player who has played twice in the NCAA final, so UCLA winning in 2013, runners-up this past fall, to have that level of experience. I mean, it's the playoffs. It's the closest experience to an NWSL playoff. Having a rookie like that is huge for Chicago.
And I think with Goralski, she could have gone sooner, but I think it's a player that she's an outside back. She's 2-footed. She's simple. She's a connector. When I look at Chicago Red Stars, they've got great outside backs, Casey Short, Aaron Gilliland, but sometimes they needed a connector type. And Goralski it potentially can bring a different wrinkle for them. She can be that player that settles things down, that isn't just flying down the flank, even though, by the way, she's got a great engine. Amanda Cromwell said the amount of ground, Amanda Cromwell's her head coach at UCLA, the amount of ground she covers is unreal. So she's got that engine, the capabilities to run the flank, but I think she's more of a connector and a different look for them in that outside back position. When you think about the semifinal that they lost, they couldn't get out of their own half because they were being pressed by North Carolina. And I think Goralski, again, if she can adapt to the professional game, has capabilities of being someone who can calm them down, play out of the back, and allow them to build possession, allow them to get forward, and so they're not pinned in.
Yeah, what do you...
Well, and stat nerd alert. With this pick, UCLA has now tied Virginia for most NWSL picks all time with 11.
That's a good stat.
With the 28th pick in the third round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Houston Dash select Veronica Latsko from the University of Virginia. A trade has been approved between Portland Thorns FC and the Chicago Red Stars. The Portland Thorns FC have acquired the 29th pick in the third round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft. In exchange, the Chicago Red Stars have acquired Portland Thorns FC third round natural pick in 2019. Portland Thorns FC, you are now on the clock.
Okay, we got a lot of stuff out of that podium announcement, but first, Veronica Latsko heading to Houston, midfield forward from University of Virginia, ACC Offensive Player of the Week during the year. This was somebody that people thought could go under the radar, but what makes her kind of shine a little brighter now that you kind of can see where she's going to go and how she'll fit?
Well, less specific to Latsko, but for any player coming out of Virginia, we know Steve Swanson does a great job of preparing players for the pros. So she's someone, especially where we know, and this is a rebuilding year for Houston in terms of a new coach, building her new roster. It's like this is someone that come in and maybe not have quite the rough transition to the pros.
Well, Jordan's standing by. Jordan, who do you have with you?
I've got Zoe Goralski. She just got drafted to the Chicago Red Stars, and I was watching her right over here. Stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. And then, what are you thinking when Rory Dames just walks over to you?
I kind of had an idea that he was obviously, I saw him walking over, I turned around, he was sitting in my chair that I was just in because I was like out moving, and obviously I was super excited that he was over there and super excited to return home.
Yeah, well, how is that? You get to play in your hometown. You went to UCLA for college, but now you're back. That's got to be a pretty cool feeling.
I'm really excited to be back. Going to LA for 5 years was an awesome time. I've met amazing people there, but coming back home and being able to play in front of my family, like they haven't seen me play in so long, so it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, now you have some people to celebrate, family, friends, also some new teammates.
Yes, yeah, I'm really excited to play with all the girls. I know some of the girls there. I have an old teammate from UCLA that's there right now, and all the girls that just got drafted. I'm excited to be with them. So
good. Well, congrats, Zoe.
Thank you.
Yep, so excited over here. I love it.
Thanks, Jordan. Checking back in with the Veronica Latsko pick, heading to Houston. She's also somebody who just simply, somebody stated, she just knows how to play. You know, it's very simple, but it holds a lot of weight when you say it like that. She understands it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Vera Pauw wants players who can play. I think that's, one of the things that she prides herself on is looking for that type of soccer IQ. But one of the things that stood out to me when we talked to coaches about Latsko was that they said she always able to find a way to get her shot off. And you think about now that she's loaded up top with Nichelle Prince, you've got Kalia Ohai coming back, you've got pacey front runners.
With the 29th pick in the third round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Portland Thorns select Annabella Geist from Oregon State University. Houston Dash, you are now on the clock.
Annabella Geist from Oregon State, a goalkeeper, headed to Portland. What are you guys thinking about this?
Well, I think what's interesting about that is that they clearly wanted to get her. They moved up to get into that slot where Chicago had the pick and traded away their pick for next year in the 3rd round. So there's something in Geist, in the backup goalkeeper, that they saw. Would never doubt on Nadine Onger, because you know she's got to be the one saying, look, there's qualities in Geist that I see that I can develop and craft. Obviously, I don't think she's going to unseat the starting goalkeeper at Portland. But with Bella Geist, she's tall, she's rangy, she's a good shot stopper. I mean, has some U23 experience, you know, always going to come back to that decision off the line, or decisions behind that back line, because she's not as quick coming off her line.
Well, and we didn't see Britt Eckerstrom play at all in 2017. She was picked up by Portland to back up Adriana Franch after Betos went abroad. So I wonder if this is making a competitive cauldron for the keepers, or is this a sign that Eckerstrom might be looking at where can I go to start?
I mean, if you're Bella Geist, this is an exciting place for you to land. Not only do you get the Portland environment, but you go to a place where you're going to be learning a different way to be goalkeeper by Nadine Onger. I know it sounds silly, but different countries have different ways of developing their keepers. And I remember Franch telling me, like, she does these things that are very different, that I've never experienced before, and they've helped me so much in my skill set. So Geist is going to have someone great to learn under with Onger, and then someone to follow in the footsteps of Franch. Look at how far Franch has come since her rookie year. And last year she was fantastic. Start to finish, she was a transformed goalkeeper. Maybe she wasn't playing out of the back as much, but was one of their MVPs for sure.
All right, the last pick of the round is in. Let's head back to the podium.
With the 30th pick in the 3rd round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Houston Dash select Abby Alinsky from the University of North Carolina. We will now take a brief 2-minute break before we begin round 4.
All right, so another dynamic player, you know, somebody you can kind of plug in. She listed that she's a forward, midfielder, and defender, Abby Alinsky. You know, she plays all over, but that's good. As we said before, you know, it's good to see these players be open to the idea of playing kind of anywhere on the field. And so this wraps up round 3 of the 2018 NWSL draft. And Vera Powell, you know, had a couple picks in this round. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you think of her first draft and being part of this whole experience for really the first time?
Well, I think that the key for Vera is having Lisa Cole by her side. So Lisa Cole, who had coached in WPS, coached in NWSL, having someone connected to the college game is huge, because Vera's coming in. She's coached 4 different national teams, but the American landscape, the college soccer landscape, the concept of a draft, you know, so in a way, you know, I don't want to take anything from Vera, but it's like without that Lisa Cole piece, this is a much different landscape. What I'm going to be fascinated to see is the trades for Houston and any players brought in from the outside, because to me this is still a huge question mark roster. We know there's going to be so much turnover.
And didn't you say, Abby Alinsky's from UNC, didn't you say that Anson was helping Houston in their draft?
Anson is at the Houston draft table.
So, oh wow. Obviously going with his own there.
Just says, I'll leave this right here, sort of thing.
Yeah. Because normally he's roaming around all the tables. So yeah.
But Anson listed, I mean, think about all the players that Anson has coached, and he said she's, you know, one of the most competitive players. Wow. So that speaks to the fight that kid, I always say kid because I do think of college players as kids, but I know she's a woman, that woman has.
Well, yeah, and she kind of rounds out the 3rd round of the 2018 NWSL draft. Taking a quick look back at the first 3 rounds, here's round number 1. As we knew, Andi Sullivan would go number 1 overall to Washington Spirit. Savannah McCaskill, Rebecca Quinn kind of rounded out that top 3 everybody was kind of expecting. A lot of great talent going in that first round with Michaela Abom, Imani Dorsey, Adedine Pierre-Louis, Haley Hansen, Sandra Yu. Gabby Seiler was a name that really came up a ton with a bunch of different coaches. So it's interesting to see her go to Portland. Franny Kraus, somebody that could really make an impact at North Carolina. Going into that 2nd round, Washington again getting some good talent with Skyler Debris leading things off, and Rebecca Rasmussen kind of being that 20th overall pick, finishing out that 2nd round. And heading into this last round, round 3, We saw Brittany Basinger and, trades happen with the 25th pick between Utah and Seattle, and Nadia Gomez go off the board and Veronica Latsko. So, guys, in this third round, what were the standouts to you?
Bella Geist for me. I mean, not that she's not a great pick, but that we normally don't see a lot of keepers taken. But that, as Allie had mentioned before, that Portland traded apparently to get that pick says a lot about that player.
I like the Gomez pick. I like Nadia Gomez going to Orlando. I'm just trying to look at the rest of that list. I think that was a standout, and obviously I've been hyping up Basinger the whole draft. I'm sorry, Basinger. Just go do your thing. I just have faith in you. Don't let me down.
No, don't let her down.
I think there's some. I think quality players going to come and got to earn a spot. I mean, that's what this is all about. Is that they were all standouts in college, standouts on their team, standouts in their leagues, and that's not going to be the case when they walk into that pro room and they walk into that pro training environment. And how do they adapt to it mentally? Do they have the confidence to not be a starter? Do they have the confidence to maybe not even travel? And how does that disrupt how they ultimately perform on the field? That's where you get the separation in talent level and what we think can be a good player to being a standout, and maybe getting a call up to the national team the way Taylor Smith has. That's the beauty of this league, and that's one of the things too that BJ Snow told me. Goes, no more do we have to take players that dominate the college level and bring them into the national team. That's not our filter system anymore. Now our NWSL system is our filter system for seeing can you perform week in and week out.
Well, what's really great is knowing that most of these women we'll see on national TV throughout the season. As you said, Jen, preseason starts really early this year, February 19th, so quick turnaround to kind of get them, hey, all right, let's see what you got sort of thing. But the opening weekend we can announce is March 24th and 25th on Lifetime. Game of the week is still going to be such a huge part of the Lifetime partnership. So, guys, this is really exciting to hear. It's still a national platform for these games to be played. You said as a player, it adds a little something to it too, knowing every week these viewers can tune in same time and catch a great game.
Well, as a fan, to know that week in, week out, Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern, the game's on. That it's not okay. Which channel is it on? Which time is it? It's same time.
All right, we're going to start off with the fourth round right now.
Joining us to announce the draft picks in the fourth round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft are Lisa Levine, NWSL General Counsel, and Miriam Hickey, U.S. Soccer Federation Development Academy Director. Washington Spirit, you are now on the clock.
Okay, this might be the last time tonight we hear those words, Washington Spirit. They're going to ring in my head all night.
When
Washington
have they not been on the clock?
You're on the clock. So fourth round, this is where teams really dig to try to find people with those intangibles. And when you hear the word intangibles, it kind of gets thrown around a lot. But to you guys, what does that mean, intangibles?
Intangibles are those mental qualities that what I even was just talking about with becoming a pro. It's, do you have the ability to stay confident when maybe your coach isn't playing you, isn't believing in you? Do you have the ability to show up every day and grind it out? Because believe you me, the pro league is a grind, and you are going to hurt, you are going to have triple days, you are going to not even see the reward of your work because you might be sitting on the bench or you might not make a roster. And those are the intangible qualities. And being a locker room player, someone that if you weren't starting, can you come in and still support the players that got the nod on that day? Those are the things that the coaches look for, the character of the player, probably in these fourth rounds. But don't get me wrong, they're still looking for great soccer players that are going to shock everyone.
Well, and it's a step for all these players. All of them are cream of the crop, whatever their program they came from. So one of the things that Rory Dames had said to us, he's like, I want to know what this player is like when she goes from being the star of the show to the rookie bagging balls and having to clean up after practice. And it's that attitude of how they are when they're in that situation that speaks volumes.
And real quick, we wanted to mention again, of course, that this is going to be the second year of a 3-year deal with Lifetime, so NWSL will be broadcast on Lifetime. Preseason starts February 19th, which is a month away, basically. Opening weekend for NWSL on Lifetime is going to be March 24th and 25th. When you think about that turnaround time for a young player to hear You got a month, and then you're ready to go. What do you think is going through their heads? What's that turnaround really like?
Well, I think they're incredibly excited, and they wanted to start sooner than later. The old ladies coming back, they might want a longer break. But I will say that I'm happy to announce that me, Dallin, and Jen are all going to be back for next year's broadcast team. So we're sticking together. They suckered us into another year. Thank you, Lifetime and A&E. You guys are stuck with us.
I think people are pretty happy to hear that,
and I will be their soccer stat nerd once again.
Great. The stat nerd alert.
If we ever have good stats, you guys know where they came from.
From Jen Cooper.
And if they're ever wrong, you know where they came from.
It goes both ways.
Yes,
Jen.
it does.
It goes both ways. So Washington Spirit is on the clock, but their pick just came in, so let's check in.
With the 31st pick in the 4th round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit select Rachel Moore from the College of William and Mary. Boston Breakers, you are now on the clock.
All right, so Rachel Moore taken off the board from Washington Spirit. A couple surprise faces here to hear that name.
I knew what happened. There'd be one I didn't know. Jen, it's all you.
What kind of goes through your head when you hear something unexpected like that?
Well, I've got to guess that Jim Guevara knows her through the Spirit system, or she's local to Northern Virginia, especially when you consider how many picks that Spirit have and how deep their roster already was once it's healthy. At this point, I think you're just taking rights and maybe looking at a practice player who, of course, could always surprise you. But, you can't be this player thinking that, oh, I obviously have a spot when there's just so many people that are now part of the roster.
Well, on the William & Mary website, she's listed as a midfielder, and she's from Vienna, Virginia, so you know she is local. So there's that local tie where we know it's easier and maybe less pressure on a coach to bring in a local kid.
And that's one of the beauties of Washington Spirit is they have that reserve team. So if you can't break in this year, you still have a place to play and to hone in on your talent.
Well, Jordan is standing by with Washington Spirit assistant coach Brianna Scurry. Jordan?
Yeah, Bryce Scurry, you guys. This is, oh my gosh, hello, how are you? How exciting that you get to be back in the game. You're helping out with Washington Spirit. You took a little break. Yes. Now you're back. You played in WUSA, but what is this like? How has it been being back in NWSL?
It's been fantastic. Everybody's wonderful. I'm very excited about being a part of the team now. I did a little bit of stuff with them 2 seasons ago, and it's really exciting for me now to be in the thick of things, and I feel like this is really an opportunity for me to really give back to the game again. It's been a while, so I'm really excited to be doing that.
Yeah, and I've been bugging you guys because you're at this table right behind us.
Yes.
How has your first draft day experience been?
I think it's been fantastic. I mean, for me, it's just wonderful to come into this room and see how soccer has grown over the years, because obviously I've been around it for a long time, and it's just really exciting. Very excited and happy for all the women that got chosen today, especially for our team, of course, but it's just really neat to see how it's grown overall.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. Some grit. She's going to bring some grit to Washington Spirit.
I am absolutely, and we're going to try to elevate our team and really bring a great experience.
Great. Thank you so much. We're going to go to the next pick now.
With the 32nd pick in the 4th round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Boston Breakers select Joanna Boyles from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Houston Dash, you are on the clock.
Joanna Boyles, a midfielder coming out of UNC, hometown Raleigh, North Carolina. So really a technically gifted player. She's very dominant on the ball. Some coaches said they find her very intriguing because she has midfielder attributes, but those things that also kind of transfer over to defensive work as well. So we'll hear from her and what she has to say going to Boston Breakers, a midfielder for them. Probably a very exciting time.
Thank you to the NWSL for hosting this amazing day, and also obviously thank you to Boston for taking a chance on me. I promise you won't waste it. I'd like to say a special thank you to my friends and family for always being there for me, and a special thank you to Anson Dorrance and Damon Nahas, Scotty Schweitzer, and Chris Gorez for always being there for me. I'm excited for this new opportunity and can't wait to get it started. Thank you.
So So Joanna Boyles heading to Boston. Interesting enough, she actually had back-to-back ACL tears, but came
One
back
in
with
each
them.
knee.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
I've done both. Come on, every soccer player has.
So that's pretty incredible to see her, you know, bounce back. But she's also, as we see, a free kick specialist. That's kind of her bread and butter there.
And I think she's one of the exciting 10s in the league. You know, her mobility, athleticism is the only piece that could potentially hinder her, because everyone is so excited about athletes in this league, but I like this player. I think she's got a fantastic soccer IQ. She's good in the seam. She can combine. She can set players up. She's also tough. And where does she translate? Is she a 10? Does she fill a 6 or an 8? They've got, you know, they can use her in those spots too, but I think she is someone that can step in because she's got the soccer knowledge, and she's one of those players. If Boston was pinned in a lot last year, wasn't able to find their way out, well, she can help solve that problem.
Well, Jordan's with her now, so we'll get to hear from her. Jordan? Thanks, Marissa. Joe, you just get drafted, and 2 years ago, maybe this isn't really on the table for you. It's been quite the journey to get back here. What does this mean to you?
It's pretty incredible. You know, 2 years ago, I didn't think that I would be even able to come here, be part of this. So it's just a blessing, and so excited for Boston. I love the city. We played there this year, so I can't wait to get out there and you know, give the fans something to smile about.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel like your time at UNC has helped prepare you to go to the next level?
I mean, training every day with, you know, some great players, and obviously having Anson Dorrance and Damon Nahas, my club coach there, it's just been a blessing, and you know that they push you every single day. So I'm just ready to be pushed again.
I know Mom, Dad, Aunt, Chris are all here, so go celebrate with them.
Yes,
Congrats.
I will. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Marissa.
Thanks, Jordan. That was the 32 overall pick, Joanna Boyles. But going back to that 31st pick, Rachel Moore from Washington.
Yeah, no, I just reached out to Jim Gabera real quick, and he said she played on his reserve. She's a 5'11" defender. Likes her.
With the 33rd pick in the 4th round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Houston Dash select Sarah Scheimer from the University of Washington. Utah Royals FC, you are now on the clock.
And you know, Houston had talked when we came into this draft about trying to get someone to potentially back up Campbell. They weren't sure with international call-ups if Campbell was going to be gone a lot, so they were looking at bringing in another goalkeeper that could step in. So I see why they made that pick there. I've seen Scheimer play. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to see her play, but you know, another shot stopper. I still go back to decision making off the line, but someone that has the athletic pieces and just needs to be molded.
Well, and hey, coached by Amy Allman, who was Hope Solo's coach at UW, and looking at Houston's goalkeeper situation, Jane Campbell, Bianca Henninger, they're both getting call-ups now, so it's not just the possibility of Jane being out, but Bianca getting called up for Mexico. So that was a key thing for Vera's, like, I need to have a good third.
Well, yeah, you never want to be kind of caught in a situation where you have to grab somebody off retainer for an emergency. You want somebody who's kind of there, and you can mold to your own specificities. And you know, to see her kind of go to Houston, it's a good opportunity for her too to learn from people with international experience, because we said all throughout today how invaluable international experience is. So for her to train one-on-one with those types of goalkeepers should be really good for her own skill set.
And someone that will push Jane Campbell as well. You know, that's always important. Even though Jane is making her way into the national team, you just don't necessarily want that player to be so comfortable with their club role. So it's going to be a good thing. She's got a good range in her kicking game. Scheimer does, that is. Good off her line, quick off her line, if you will, brave in traffic. Those are things that you do need at the pro level, because they're going to rein in balls.
Yeah, I want to go back real quick. Jordan caught up with Brianna Scurry a couple minutes ago, and you know, it's just so cool to see her involved as a coach now, and you know, as a soccer fangirl geek, you know, that 99 Women's World Cup was that moment where, you know, a lot of women my age realize, like, this is awesome, and you know, women can be amazing professional athletes. So to see Brianna Scurry like now part of the league, for me, it's kind of, I'm geeking out over here, but to kind of be a part of it and see how she can now kind of put all that information and stuff she's learned over the years back into the league.
Well, and same as having Nadine Ungerer as your goalkeeper coach, a former FIFA World Player of the Year. And hey, we have to give a shout out. This is the first year we've had 3 female head coaches in the league. You know, Laura Harvey, you're no longer alone. Well, actually, no, I have to correct myself. There was a period in the first season where there were 3. but it didn't even last the whole season. But to me, that's huge because there are more and more coaching opportunities for women. I love seeing, too, that the assistant coaches, we're seeing more assistant coach positions, and we're seeing women in those positions getting the shot. So Denise Reddy, having been an assistant at Washington Spirit for several years, now head coach at Sky Blue.
Yeah, it's exciting just to see how the league's kind of evolved and then compare it to past leagues, because as we said before, this is the first time a professional women's league has made it this far. So we're kind of part of something really much bigger than what we've experienced before in terms of, what you were used to in terms of professional soccer.
Yeah, I mean, the quality is just getting better and better, but even speaking to the women coach piece, obviously we have to have more opportunity. We have to have more investment in getting women into being coaches, and I do think that this league is providing that avenue. We're talking about the players, but it provides it for coaches, because think about it. Bryce Curry wouldn't have anywhere to come back. Now these players that are playing, they're more invested in the game if they go on playing years after years, and they might be more likely to become a coach.
Well, let's go to that next pick.
With the 34th pick in the 4th round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, Utah Royals FC select E.J. Proctor from Duke University. Sky Blue FC, you are now on the clock.
So another a goalkeeper and another Duke player. These Blue Devils are popping up everywhere. E.J. Proctor, a senior from Greenville, North Carolina. She was 2017 first team All-ACC here in the crowd today. Pretty cool moment for her. She makes her way to the stage. Little on the smaller side when you think of a goalkeeper, but she packs a huge punch in between the poles for Duke and did a great job with her that
I see
college
what you did
career.
there. That was good.
Yeah, you get that? Picking up one, put down.
First of all, thank you to Utah for taking a chance on me. I'm so excited to be there. I can't wait to be there for the start of a new club. My parents, thank you so much, never missing a game. My grandma, my brother, you guys were awesome all 4 years. My coaches, thank you for making me a better player. My teammates, thank you for making me a better person. And I can't wait to head out to Utah and see what happens.
That's got to be exciting for her, knowing what she's joining out in Utah. Laura Harvey's over there, a great team already, but also, as we mentioned before, they have an opportunity to build their own identity. What is she going to provide in terms of that?
Well, I mean, Utah needed to bring in another goalkeeper. Nicole Barnhart had surgery in the offseason. They knew that was something that they had to shore up in this offseason, is get competition for Barnhart, get cover for Barnhart, because she's not going to be able to play forever. E.J. Proctor, it's funny, when I asked Robbie Church, again, her coach at Duke, about her, he said, this is a self-made player. This is a player that is going to push, if she's a backup, she is going to push that starter to the nth degree. She gets up every morning and to do all the right things ahead of anyone else that's out on the field. She's doing her running. She's doing her kicking game. She's making sure that she's taking care of anything she can take care of to become a better player. And you even saw that attitude there. Let's see what happens. She's just like, bring it on. I got this.
And it's so hard to be a backup to Nicole Barnhart, who has played all but 7 matches in the 5-year history of FC Kansas City. So all those poor backups never getting a chance. So you need someone this tough. I love how Robbie Church described her as an in-your-face kind of leader. It's like you need that person that's really going to challenge that player and not be satisfied to be in the backup role.
Well, we alluded to it, but she's not the only girl from Duke selected today. We're going to take a quick look at how many players actually came off the board who from each team. So we have here, most draftees from the same school. We had 12 from Virginia, 12 from North Carolina. This is an NWSL draft history, 11 from Duke.
And now Duke's up to 12. That actually makes 12.
So, and 5 today alone from Duke. And as you said, ACC play is one of the most difficult, conferences to play. So quality players, coming into this draft from those schools.
Yeah, I mean, it was a strong class. Again, every coach we talked to throughout the NWSL, we talked about their top prospects. They would individualize players, of course, but they would always say the Duke kids. And there was, the Duke kids. They're all good. We're all interested in all of them. It's just a matter of our priorities and where they fall in the draft. And you're just seeing them. They've all been plucked up.
I just wanted to write just Duke kid on my sheet. I'm like, I don't have to write anything else.
Yeah, they'll probably get picked. Well, Sky Blue is on the clock. Time has run out, so we're expecting a pick to come soon, maybe some other type of news. But just going over, now we're in the 4th round. These are the players that, have a good amount of upside. Who do you think? Do you have names, or do you have ideas
Who do I have
of what
left
kind of
on my board?
what kind of people do you think are going
My
to be
hundreds of
selected?
cards?
In the largest NWSL draft pool ever?
Yes.
Which is it's a great thing.
This is a great
Although,
point.
again, I'm going back to we need to change the rules. You are not allowed to register for the draft the night before.
Allie doesn't
If I'm a coach, I'm saying let's think ahead.
Yeah. If
Details.
anybody's listening, well, the pick is in, so let's check in and see what's going on with Sky Blue.
With the 35th pick in the 4th round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue FC select Kiana Palacios from the University of California, Irvine. Seattle Reign FC, you are now on the clock.
All right, a forward midfielder from UC Irvine. I saw you guys nod your heads a little bit when you heard this name being called. What are your thoughts, Allie?
I like this player a lot. She's played for Mexico in the U20 World Cup. She's just got a good sense in and around the box. She's good on the ball. I wasn't sure if anyone was going to pick her up, but I think she's someone you take a chance on because she does have that U.S. citizenship. She's not going to count against you in the international allotments. Just extremely impressed with how hard she works defensively. So many times you take, I know it says midfielder, she can play in the 10, but as a front runner, she was tracking back. She was doing that defensive work, and that tells you a lot about her mentality and what she's willing to do for her team.
That international experience, again, just so huge. I mean, she scored 3 goals in the Under-20 Women's World Cup last fall.
Well, right now we're going to check back in with Jordan Angeli. Jordan, what's going on?
I'm here with EJ Proctor. Just got drafted to the Utah Royals FC. We were just talking too. Have you ever been to Utah? What do you know about Utah?
Yeah, I don't know much about it. Had a few friends from high school that went to BYU, so that's kind of it. But I mean, I guess I'll be out there soon, so I'm excited to see what it's like.
Yeah, she's gonna try snow sports. We're sticking to sledding though, only sledding allowed. There's something about this Duke class. What is it at Duke that allows you guys to get into the draft, be chosen? There's something in the water there, it seems like.
Yeah. Well, I think coming in there were definitely high expectations for my class, and I think we had 8 coming in. 5 out of the 8 started our freshman year, sometimes 6, and then we got Irwin, a new coach, got a new goalkeeper coach, and kind of ever since then we've really just changed how we play, and I think found a way that fits all of us and has just allowed us to show all of our strengths, and it really worked out for us.
Yeah, now you get to play with Nicole Barnhart. That's got to be a pretty exciting thing.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, heard her name as soon as I started to follow professional soccer, national team, so it's cool to be around someone like that every day whose name you've heard since you're little.
Yeah. One last thing before we go, you got to say hi to someone.
Oh, yeah, Mom, I am sorry that you can't be here, but I know that you're watching at home, and thank you for everything that you do. Love you.
All right, there we have it. You got to thank Mom, guys.
You always got to shout out Mom.
Yeah.
None of us would be here without Mom. You got to give Mom a shout out. It's great to hear from EJ Proctor and talking a little bit about, what she knows about Utah and just knowing, what kind of environment Laura Harvey tends to build. What can we expect out of what that little microcosm will be out there with the Royals?
Well, I wonder if Laura Harvey got some intel from, wait a minute. Okay, sorry. I was thinking Palacios for a second. Never mind.
It happens. We're on like the 8th hour.
I know. I'm like, which
so.
pick are we in? Okay, good. We just go to the podium.
Yeah, just go to the podium.
With the 36th pick in the 4th round on the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Seattle Reign select Celia Jimenez Delgado from the University of Alabama. Chicago Red Stars, you are now on the clock.
Celia Jimenez Delgado out of Alabama. Again, kind of saying she can play all over the field. Allie?
Yeah, I really liked her when I researched this player. She played for Spain, and you can see it probably in that jersey there. She played for Spain in the U20 World Cup. She reminds me a lot of Steph Catley from Orlando in that she's got these long strides. She can cover the flank. She can bomb up and down. But she gets around the edge. She can serve the box. I liked a lot of the people she was picking out. She wasn't doing it blindly. There was purpose behind her crosses. And again, I think it's a good pickup by Blanco.
Jordan Angeli actually knows her pretty well. So, Jordan, what can you tell us about her?
Seattle. With a great pickup here because Belia Jimenez is just a really quality player. Played with the Spanish national team. She can play outside back, center, midfield, but the IQ, the soccer IQ on this player is beyond. I worked at Alabama for a little bit and I saw her day in and day out. The way she trains, the way she thought about how to break teams down, even within practice. She was always talking to the team at halftime, really led the team. I think this is a wonderful pickup in the 4th round by Seattle.
And that's great insight to have, somebody who saw her up close and personal while she worked at Alabama. Jen, what do you think about the pick?
Well, Allie mentioned she played in the U20 World Cup. She also played in the 2015 Senior World Cup. She's the youngest player ever for Spain to play in a Senior World Cup. Started all 3 matches. Hasn't seen a lot of time with the senior team since then, but it's like to have that experience, again, you're coming into this camp with something that most of the players haven't experienced.
And she kind of ticks off that box of real quick, but we're going to go to the next
With the 37th pick in the 4th round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Alexa Ben from DePaul University. North Carolina Courage, you are now on the clock.
Alexa Ben out of DePaul, midfielder from Illinois. She was a 2017 Senior Class Award First Team Selection. That's for notable achievements in community, classroom character, and competition. A lot of qualities that you want to see, as we talked about, intangibles in that 4th round. But from a field perspective, Allie, what did they get out of her?
Well, with some of the, we talked about the character piece. She played for Rory at the Eclipse team. Erin Chastain, actually. Erin Hussey is her maiden name, was one of my coaches. Santa Clara actually coached her at DePaul University. She's one of those attacking mids, extremely good in the tight spaces, technical, quick. She's only 5 feet tall, but it doesn't matter because she's so elusive, incredible soccer IQ. So again, this is someone that's slotting in potentially to that midfield, into that midfield area that can bring just a different quality, maybe, the breaking the lines type of that attitude and presence that they haven't had in the past. Of course, Julie Ertz can do that, but I think she's someone that can vie for a position in there and maybe free up Ertz to play a true 6.
I think it's interesting, too, that here's another short player like Brie Vazali, known to be a midfielder, but known to tear it up in the midfield. It's like the creativity, the technicality kind of tells you what Rory Dames is looking for. Not a surprise. Obviously, it's just she had played for Rory, gone to DePaul, that, a perfect 4th round pick for Chicago.
Yeah, and, and Erin Chastain is not someone that will pump up her players. She'll be truthful and honest about whether they can make it at the pro level, and she said, look, this is someone that absolutely has the skill set and the tools to play at the next level.
And some people said maybe she'd get overlooked because, her team didn't play as well this year in DePaul. So it's good to know that on that local radar, if you will, that she got picked up. And now she can kind of prove her worth on a professional scene with Chicago. Somebody that will learn a lot with the roster that they have on hand.
And I mean, like he's done this so many times. We've seen so many local players, but almost all of them have ended up getting time.
Well, let's check out that next pick.
With the 38th pick in the 4th round of the NWSL College Draft, North Carolina Courage select Morgan Reed from Duke University. North Carolina Courage, you are now on the clock.
Big hugs for Morgan Reed, a defender out of Duke, a North Carolina native. So she's going back home to North Carolina Courage. She's somebody who started 86 of 92 games during her career. She is, as I said, a local player. That's something that stood out to their head coach, Paul Riley. She's making her way to the front of the stage. This is big because it's getting towards the end of the draft. Maybe she thought she'd hear her name a little bit higher, but I'm sure she's overwhelmed with excitement. Real quick, what do you like about her?
Duke kid.
Duke kid. Another one of those Duke kids. But yeah, she had a national experience, helped earn 49 shutouts.
No, I definitely have plenty on her. I just know that she's going to want to say something before anyone hears from me.
Hi. First, I'd like to thank the NWSL for today. It's been a great event. Second, I'd like to thank the Courage. It's been a dream to be a part of this program, and I can't wait to chase the dream. Secondly, I'd like to thank Duke, and I'd like to thank Castle, who helped me be the player I am today. Thank you.
You know, you look at the player profile of Morgan Reed, right back, center backs, incredibly comfortable on the ball. By the way, North Carolina needs a right back, and a different coach, Washington, actually, Jim Gabera, said she is someone that could come in and challenge immediately for a starting gig. So even though she falls to the 4th round, she's someone that has an opportunity potentially to push those starters, or if there's vacancy, just step into that role. Incredibly clean technically. That was one of the things that stood out to me. She can solve pressure even when people are bearing down on her. Of course, at the pro level, it gets ratcheted up 5 levels, but still able to be calm in those moments. Good range on her passes, good 1v1, tough. I mean, I just think she's a solid pickup. Someone that, again, you just see if she can translate to the pro level.
And North Carolina didn't have any picks in the last round, and now they had that. Now they have the last 2. So can't they just pick them all together?
It's going to be rapid fire, you know. There's no wrinkles in their plan, so.
Well, Jordan is standing by with Morgan. Jordan, how's it going?
Great. Morgan is so excited. I just feel like it's deja vu. Duke, Duke, Duke. And Morgan, your name gets called. That's got to be a great feeling. And to go to a place that's close to you. You grew up in Cary. How cool is that?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I grew up watching the Courage 10 years ago. One of my coaches played there. And then I got to be coached by her. And it's kind of been a dream of mine to go back to the Courage and try and represent their program well. So I'm really, really thrilled.
Yeah. And I was just telling you, 88% pass completion rate. That's pretty incredible. What is it about the style you play you feel like will fit well with the Courage?
Yeah, so I don't really try to do anything fancy. It's just efficient, and you know, little passes create great things sometimes. So I just try to do my role to the best of my ability.
I like that. Sounds like North Carolina Courage is going to have some quick passes. We're going to go to the next pick right now, though.
4th round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the North Carolina Courage select Carlin Hudson from Yale University. North Carolina Courage, you are now on the clock.
On the clock again for North Carolina, just picking up Carlin Hudson out of Yale. You know, somebody who obviously comes from the Ivy League system, but what do you guys think of Carlin and what she can bring to North Carolina?
Hard-nosed defender, just physical, gets stuck in, gets in on challenges. I mean, those are things that struck me immediately. Has the pace. It's interesting because when you watch her move, it seems like she's heavy-footed a bit. She runs on her heels, and then you see that she closes. She covers ground. She stays with all those pacey front runners, so I don't think pace is going to be a problem from her. I thought she was fearless, you know, and that was a cool thing. You watch her get into these challenges, no regard for her body, and then wins the ball and then cleans it up and plays simple, connects, plays out seamlessly, so she's not trying to do too much, just like what Morgan Reed just said.
Yeah.
Sometimes a simple ball, it opens things up. It does great things for her team, and first of all, I love that. Can I play on her team? And, and I think of kind of that mentality with Carlin Hudson, and that she just wants to get it to the playmakers.
And we've never seen a player drafted out of Yale into the league. We rarely see players out of the Ivy League, but we've seen Princeton, you know, bring it on recently. So for me to see Paul Riley and Charlie Namo from the Courage pick a player out of Yale tells me, without knowing anything about her, that it's like, wow,
yeah,
she must really impress.
And she was a team captain, so you know that there's another layer to her, not just on the field, but either if it's communication skills with her teammates or just the ability to lead on and off. And you know, there's so many different types of being able to lead, but kind of having that type of person going into a team that's already so stacked.
Yeah, but just think about North Carolina. They're a physical, tough team, you know, bringing more of their mentality, more of what they like in players. It doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, Carolina is on the clock right now, but this is the last pick of the 2018 NWSL Draft.
With the 40th pick in the 4th round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, the North Carolina Courage select Ryan Williams from Texas Christian University.
My nephew goes to Texas Christian University, so I had
picked his brain a little.
Texted him before the draft. I said, do you know her? He didn't have any help for me.
We're going to check right back in with the podium.
NWSL College Draft. Congratulations to all of the players selected today and the opportunities to come that for the players who are draft eligible. Thank you for the support, and we look forward to an exciting 2018 season.
right, thanks for watching, everyone. But real quick, Allie, want to talk a little bit about Ryan?
With Ryan, I just think she's one of those players you take a chance on. She's a right back, runs up and down that flank, and has a lot of pace. The question is, does she have the strength at the next level? Yet to be seen, but I think she can run that flank. Again, you see what they're doing. They're loading up in that right back position.
Well, let's take a quick look at how this whole draft kind of played out, because, you know, it was 4 rounds, in case you might have forgotten what happened. Taking a look at the first round, as we said before, Andy Sullivan was that, you know, consensus pick at number 1 for Washington Spirit. Savannah McCaskill, another great ad, and Rebecca Quinn. And then filling out that round, you've got Haley Hansen, Sandra Hughes, Franny Krause's finishing up round 1. And moving into round 2, Washington again getting another great player, another Duke player and defender, Skyler Debris. Other great people coming off the board, Eubanks, Wenger, Vasali, Rasmussen, a lot of great people that were picked up in that second round. A lot of talent in that round. Now, moving into the third round, we saw the Basingers go off the board, Nadia Gomez, and some trades happening that allowed Seattle to pick at 25 and get Allison Haram. And moving into that fourth and final round that we just experienced, that just wrapped up, we've seen, you know, a couple goalkeepers go off the board in this round, which is interesting. Also, as we thought, a lot of local kids going to teams that are close to their hometowns, making it a little easier maybe for that transition as they're fighting for a roster spot. But guys, it's all said and done. 2018 NWSL Draft is in the books. Jen, if you can wrap your brain around it just for a second, what are your thoughts as a whole?
My first thought, thank you for no timeouts and trades in the 4th round. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really excited to see how more internationals got chosen than I thought would be. You know, so there's so much unknown in this that I'm glad that the season's starting earlier, because I'm ready for March 24th to watch all this on the field.
And I think for me, I'm excited to see which names are we talking about in a year. Which names do we look back on and say, wow, what a find that was. I think there are some in here. I know the general consensus coming in was that those top 3 are a little ahead of the rest of the pack, if you will. But I do think there are some players that are going to show up, players that are on rosters, players that are starting, and there's going to be competition. What we are going to see, the product on the field is going to be way better than last year, or even better than last year, and it's just going up, up, and up, and you're going to see internationals want to come back here too, because this is going to be the place to play.
And that's what's so exciting, and to put it simply, that's what's great about sports, is that somebody from the 3rd, 4th round can all of a sudden become a superstar, and that's that person that we're talking about. And it's really great that now there's that outlet for talent to kind of be polished up. Before, as you said, you send them off to the national team. This is that great stepping stone, and also it's just a great league to watch it and be a part of. So overall, I think it was a pretty successful draft. You know, teams like Washington Spirit cleaned up. Yes. They're going to look a lot different.
What I want to know is who they're trading away and what names were yet to be traded that we're going to find out about. That is going to make this picture look even more interesting.
But just the influx of talent that they got, even just the first 2 rounds, is pretty impressive.
Well, and then I look at the schools that had players drafted for the first time ever, you know, just like Yale, and then that last pick, TCU, never had a player drafted professionally. That's huge.
It is huge. And, you know, the season is starting, as we said, earlier than normal. Preseason, they report February 19th, so pretty much a month away from today. These players will be reporting for preseason. Opening weekend of NWSL on Lifetime is March 24th and 25th. You know, there's going to be 20 games plus playoffs on the Lifetime networks. It's going to be another great season, the second year of a 30-year deal with Lifetime. So, you know, just to wrap it all up, thank you everyone for watching. Guys, do you have closing thoughts? Are you ready to kick off 2018?
Let's eat.
Let's eat.
Yeah, let's eat. And I want to know, you know, right now who Allie thinks will be in the NWSL final on September 22nd. Washington Spirit?
I'm throwing Washington out there. Wow.
Let's see.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Let's see what happens. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm Marissa Pillow for Allie Wagner and Jen Cooper.